All right, all right, all right. Good morning. Get your hydration out. Let's do this. All right. I've got a few things I want to show you before we really get into it. Oh, my allergies already trying me today. Okay. First, I mentioned this on Monday's stream. Oh, wait, hold on. Before I go, look at me. I'm already ready to go. I'm already ready to go. Hold on. First, you have got to go watch the podcast I posted yesterday. I took off from stream yesterday. I just was so low on spoons, and then I spent like 8 hours yesterday alone, 10 hours, 15 hours total probably working on this podcast, and it is being very well received. I am so stoked that the girlies are hearing me. Oh my god. Ugh. You know, I use my real life to humanize others, to recognize each other's pain, to have these really hard conversations about what it means to be a good person, because it's so hard to be a good person. And I am so grateful that that is being so well received. Views are up. People are just sharing their stories in the comments, and I'm so grateful because it's such a personal and real topic. You know, it's going to play into so much of what we talk about today: misogyny, patriarchy, like whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, like, you know, these things are so real in our lives. So thank you so much for watching that podcast. I appreciate it so much. So yeah, I spent all day yesterday working on that podcast, so I hope you enjoy it. With that said, on Monday I shared, because I was going through my my little storage unit, and I found, and I posted a video for members from the Dr. Daff show about LGBT women versus former LGBT women. So if you guys are members tier 2, you guys can watch that video. Okay, so I was going through my storage unit, and it is still Black History Month. So I want to highlight some Black artists that I have purchased art from that I think are just so talented. So this is Lindsay. Let me grab Lindsay's Instagram, and I'm going to show you her Instagram. Okay, let me pull it up here. Okay, so this is Lindsay's Instagram. She's super, 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 super talented. And I have purchased this one here. Okay, so I've purchased this one. And I purchased this before I came to Europe. So this was in 2020, I guess like probably 2 or 1 or something around there. This is the art I brought with me to Europe because I had to pick and choose what to bring with me. I moved my whole life to Croatia, and because I got married, obviously, and I had to make that decision. So I bought her art, which I really, really love. So I'll link her Instagram in the chat. Like, she's so talented. And then the second artist I'd like to highlight is also a gentleman that I found, and I usually find people, guys, on Instagram, TikTok. I follow a lot of like just art tags, and I found Cams. I found him probably around the same time, sometime during maybe lockdown or something. This is his art. Okay. This is if you're an Attack on Titan fan, if you love anime, he does amazing, amazing work. Just like really, really talented person. Okay. You can check out his Instagram. And then, of course, I wanted to show you this one. Let me see. So I wanted to show you this one. This is the one I really, hold on. Wait. So they have the female and male Titan from Attack on Titan. If you know, you know. Okay, so talented. I cannot wait to get these framed and put up on the walls. I obviously haven't done those things because they're expensive, and your girl makes a humble living. And though I do this full time for a living, I do not have the money for frames. Especially since we are renters, and I don't really want to buy frames that won't go in my forever home. So, you know, it might be another 9 years or so before I frame these, but hopefully not that long. Hopefully I'll find a way to preserve, because I got to preserve them somehow. But anyway, super talented, super fabulous. put them away so they don't get damaged. They're so talented. And so I just wanted to highlight, you know, two artists that I've specifically purchased art from, because I think sometimes, you know, and I hate to say it this way, and I don't mean to attack anybody, but sometimes it is hard to know if I'm really supporting a local artist or if somebody's just spamming or scamming me with AI. And, you know, again, like, I'm not trying to be a hater, but I am really trying to highlight like real artists, like people who take the time to create something from their own hands, their own mind, their own, you know, there's so many talented people out there. And if I'm going to spend my money, I would like to support artists who are really, you know, creating. And so, you know, Discord said your face always glows when you show art. I love it. I love it so much. Like, whether it's listening to music or looking at a painting or just looking outside the window, like, I am definitely one of those very moved by art people. Like, I'm definitely like, I don't know much about art, like in that like academic sense. I'm a feel girly. I just feel it, and I get so like, oh, like I feel it in it's probably autism, but I feel it in my whole body. Like, my whole body just feels so alive when I am consuming really good art. So, you know, I just wanted to give a little shout out to them. With that said, I also found some news I want to go over with you guys before we get started on the main topic. I don't know who this is, Jose Andres. I don't know if he's Andres. I don't know if he's a good person or a bad person, but he sounds like a good person. So I wanted to highlight this story. You know, you never know. You never know who's a good person, bad person in the world where bad people give. But I heard this story out of Gaza and I was like so excited about it. So you listen to this.
In Gaza, you are now serving 1 million hot meals in Gaza a day. Talk about how you reached that milestone.
Well, it's a bittersweet celebration. I've been talking through Zoom with the teams. I was there a few weeks ago, just at the end of last year. And the teams obviously were celebrating. They were happy. We have Palestinians feeding Palestinians, the people of Gaza taking care of their problems. But, you know, more is more need. It's the need of more food, more fresh vegetables, more water purification systems. We need more, the hospitals need medical care. We need to increase the medical care. The people of Gaza need tents. They're living under very difficult conditions. This winter has been terrible. So what we are celebrating, for us is more than a celebration, is to remind the world that we need to do more. More food needs to go in, more baby formula needs to go in. The need in Gaza is still very much in need of America, the Arab countries, Israel, everybody, to make sure that the people of Gaza are taken care of.
Okay, so I thought I liked the giving and I liked the awareness that we still need more. And I know that sounds exhausting, and I know it's really hard when you're sitting out here, you can't pay your own grocery bills, rent is high, everything feels crazy. And then on top of that, they're like, give more. I think that's why everybody has to play a different role in terms of how we give back to the world, right? So I wanted to highlight that. I also want to highlight this, just came out a day ago.
Finally, the doctors behind a different type of medical breakthrough. Take a good look at these 5 doctors. More than a portrait, it's a moment suspended in history. For the first time, 5 African-American surgeons now lead the trauma service at the preeminent Johns Hopkins Hospital. Tonight, we hear from some of the trailblazers behind this historic team.
My parents are so proud. I am the first physician in my family, and I think it's so impactful.
For Dr. Lawrence Brown, medicine is more than science. It's service.
That's what's important to me. Equity has to remain at the forefront of how we deliver patient care, how we do research, how we scale programs up in our healthcare system.
Dr. Zachary Numa is the result of service that was modeled and purpose that was inherited.
Growing up in Columbus, Georgia in the 1990s, I watched my parents, my mom, a family medicine doc, my dad, a general surgeon, show up to serve patients every day.
For Dr. Ife Shiombo, history isn't just remembered here, it's carried forward.
The best part is that I get to save lives and have an impact every single day. To anyone who's watching, realize that your dream and capacity can only be limited by you. And if you can think it, see it, then you can absolutely reach it.
Finally.
All right, there we go. Some good news. Crazy that it's happening just now. Discord says for the first time just now. Exactly. Exactly. There is, without a doubt, just an understanding that as much as that's why today's stream is going to be so heavily focused on the reality that whether you like it or not, we're still dealing with stuff. And so you can't sit here and pretend we're so beyond that saying you're progressive is enough, or the bare minimum is enough, or that, that you're not deconstructing, that you're not facing yourself, you're not having real conversations about what minorities are facing in this country in a way that shows up embodied in your life, right? Okay, news out of San Francisco, Stonewall. There's been issues with the flag. There's been issues in protests, like all over this country. There are protests all over the world. There are protests, there are genocides, there are struggles happening. And I'm just trying to highlight a few before we get started, because I know it's hard to keep up with everything. I absolutely understand we certainly didn't. I don't think any of us could have known that we would have the world in our hand at one point, and that world would just consume everything that was our life, right? Like, I understand that. So here's this.
Flag flying once again. The pride flag flying once again here at Stonewall in New York City. Activists re-raising it as a statement after the Trump administration removed the rainbow flag from the National Park Service site, citing new guidance that limits which flags can fly on federal property. Now, critics have been calling this move symbolic and say at Stonewall, the site rooted in protest and LGBTQ plus history, these symbols matter. The Park Service maintains that it is applying the policy consistently. But here in New York City, the message has been clear from supporters that this monument is about history, and for them, the flag is a part of that story. The big question this evening, will this flag be allowed to stay? Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
I can't believe we're even talking about whether or not it can stay or not. Just crazy things are happening everywhere, so just keep that in mind. And then, of course, if you guys aren't aware, Reverend Jesse Jackson did pass away. He's pretty controversial, and a lot of people have a lot of really mixed feelings about him. And I just want to say, regardless of how you feel about him, I thought this clip from Sesame Street was interesting.
Somebody. I am. Somebody. I am. Somebody. I may be poor. But I am. Somebody. I may be young. But I am. Somebody. I may be on welfare. But I am. Somebody. I may be small. But I am. I am. Somebody.
I thought that was really nice. Regardless of how you might feel, or regardless of some people's opinions of, the point is that, at least for all of my life, he's been a name I knew my whole life. And I thought that clip was really nice. So I just wanted to talk about that since he recently passed. Okay, how are we feeling? How are you doing? You guys doing okay? Are you guys in a good mood? Where are we at emotionally? Where are we at? I washed my hair today. So I did not sleep very much as per usual because I was putting up the pod. P.S. Please go watch that podcast. It was so good. It's being received so well. If I could just save one girlie from moving in with her loser boyfriend, I will be so happy, It made me cry. Some of those comments were like, I wish I saw this video a year and a half ago. And I was like, I know. Chad says, your hair looks so long on the pod. I know. It's getting there. I just gave it a little trim. I just gave it a recent trim. So get a little bounce back, Chat says eating breakfast right now. Love that. Oh, Discord said I should not be tearing up. It's a beautiful I am somebody. I am somebody. What a beautiful sentiment. I am somebody. Which is why I say you're so much more than politics. Because politics doesn't want to acknowledge that you are indeed somebody. But you are somebody, I said, have you seen FD's new video on Tyler Perry? You mean the one that YouTube took down? The joke yesterday, if you saw YouTube got taken down, the app died. So there was people on TikTok saying it's FD Signifier's fault because the Tyler Perry video, they tried to silence him. And so the YouTube app went down. Tyler Perry's video went down. Conspiracy or just true? And I was laughing at TikTok. But yeah, the video got taken down as far as I saw last time. I'm not sure if it's back up. I have not seen it. I usually end up watching videos like that with stream. I don't know when I'm going to get to a 4.5-hour video, but I'm excited. Tyler Perry is a very big topic. Like he is, I am sure it is done very well. I'm sure the video is done very well, but it is it is a big topic if you know the history of Tyler Perry. Yeah, I'm excited to see it. With that said, guys, I have so much to go over today. Let's just give ourselves like a little bit of a, deep breath. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot. But I think it's gonna be good. Yeah, Chad says Tyler Perry got people in high places. He's got a lot of. He's got a controversial. The thing with a billionaire, right? Is there's always those questions, Oh, my phone's reminding me to stream. I started early, phone. Okay, first, let's take a cleanser. Let's do a little cleanser before we begin.
A pregnant virgin, I can believe. I can believe a pregnant virgin. But 3 wise men? I think we need to fact check that one. Oh, no.
Okay. Nice cleanser. Oh my God. I did ugly laugh when I first saw that. I really did. Okay. Let me start this. So this is this discussion. Hold on. I got a lot of tabs open. It's kind of ridiculous. Okay, let's start it with, actually, let's start with this. Exhausting. Okay. Let's start with this. Okay. First, if you don't know who I am, my name is Brittany Simon. I do philosophy through pop culture. I've been on the internet a long time, and it's taken me a really long time to know what I'm doing here. I think a lot of people come to the internet and they have a really good idea of what they're doing here, and they just stay there forever. I, on the other hand, have been all over the place, and I recently discovered what I'm doing here a few years back, and I'm solidifying it even harder here in 2026. And every year I get older, hopefully I get a little wiser, but I have had my time on the internet, and I probably know about everybody you know in more ways than one, right? And so chat's talking about FD. We should watch FD's video. You got to watch it as soon as it comes out or it gets taken down. Speaking of FD, friend of the show, right? Michael Burns, friend of the show. Okay, but not even that. Blast from the past. Yeah, I've been everywhere, baby. You probably recognize some of these people. So you might think, who the heck is Brittany Simon? Why is she everywhere, but she's not popular? It's because, girly, I never fit perfectly into a little niche. Look at me with Glenn Beck. Who is she? Look at me with beautiful Melina. Look at me at MythCon. Look, is that Blair White? It is. Okay, look at me hanging out with all these people. Look at me on Flagrant right there. Look at me with ContraPoints. Look at me with Shu. Look at me with ABBA. Look at me between Marissa J. Johnson and some black guy. Okay, that's his name. I'm not calling him some black. Derek, that's his name. I think his name was Derek, but that was his username. Look at me with Sneeko. Look at me with T1J. Look at me with Lauren Southern. Ew. Look at me with Sargona Vakad. Okay, look at that. Right? And then look, Hassan is looking at me on stream. Oh my God. Look, I know I don't have a popular channel, but just a reminder, I do this full time and I make a pretty good living. Okay, I know I'm not popular in terms of numbers, but your girl has been everywhere. Okay, everybody. Hell, Elliot Singh was in chat just a few weeks ago saying he watches, which is crazy. Shout out to Elliot Singh. Listen, I am one of those YouTubers where I feel like all the YouTubers watch me, but I'm not a very popular person. I feel like according to my DMs, people know who I am. It's just the fans don't, which is fine. But I am a YouTuber's YouTuber. That's what people have called me my whole life. You're a YouTuber's YouTuber. All the YouTubers are in your DMs, but the fans don't know who you are. I accept that. Okay? I 100% embrace. Yeah, chat says you're a YouTuber's favorite YouTuber. And I embrace it. I'm here for it, girl. I pay my rent. I pay my bills, right? But because of that, when I talk about YouTubers, when I talk about people, fans of those people usually come into my chat and think I'm clout chasing, or think that I'm just like nitpicking their favorites, or don't understand my perspective because they think I'm trying to do the same thing their faves are doing. Reminder, I am not trying to be famous. I'm not trying to go viral. I'm trying to continue making a living doing the philosophical work that I do. And I'm so grateful for the position that I am in. I am very happy with where I am in terms of like popularity. I'm very happy with what I'm doing. If I could just stay at this level forever and still make a living, I would be very happy. Now, of course, this industry is, it's not so great. So I'll talk about that in a second from Hassan's perspective. But first, let's talk about who is Hassan. Check this out.
Piker, also known by the online name Hassan Abi, appears with Mayor Brandon Johnson in Los Angeles. The podcaster has become one of the biggest voices of the far left. Piker has debated the late Charlie Kirk several times, but his live stream with Johnson was anything but a debate, more a discussion about the mayor's progressive agenda and the people trying to derail it.
So there's been a massive amount of money to interrupt and disrupt our overall agenda.
Johnson blamed the corporate media and certain Democrats for being influenced by corporate money, including the 30 city council members who shot down the corporate head tax. As he has done several times, Johnson took aim at Chicago Democratic donor Michael Sachs and former Mayor Rahm Emanuel. In addition, there was a slight dig at former President Barack Obama.
The Emanuel administration embodied the 1% of society. Everything that
he did that in the Obama administration as well.
Oh, absolutely. Like, look, and this might be a good time to just insert a thank you, Obama, if we're going to criticize him.
Piker is a self-proclaimed imperialist Marxist who has been accused of being anti-Semitic. Political analysts doubt the mayor's appearance will help his re-election efforts if the mayor chooses to run again.
He's got problems with his own base. He's got the challenge of reaching out to people who don't necessarily agree with his politics. And this is just moving him further away from that.
The conversation with Piker lasted over 35 minutes. Political experts say plenty of material that could backfire during mayoral election season.
Doing a long-form interview with a controversial host is a gamble. It leaves a trail of receipts. And when you have a half hour or 60 minutes of content, you are giving your opponents a lot to work with.
Hassan Piker.
Okay, so this is ABC. This is Hassan Piker. So what I'm going to do, it's going to be a mixture today of explaining Hassan while also going through the comment section from his fans. I want to just make it clear that obviously the fans that I'm talking about from Hassan's audience aren't his fans in general, or a majority of his fans, but I want to, for the fans who bothered to find my content and leave comments, give them a chance to pop a bubble, give them a chance to eat a cupcake and change their mind. So when you come into my chat, okay, Hassan Abi people, okay, and you say, feels like you're just interested in being hard on Hassan because you think you deserve to be more viral than he is. He does a lot and you don't mention any of that. Being in the spotlight also makes his life more dangerous. You make him sound awful. He can come across as human too. Okay, first, I hear you, and I need you to understand in the same way you feel like I haven't watched enough of Hassan to comment, have you watched enough of me to comment? See how you require me to mention all of his good things, but you didn't bother to research me to mention any of mine. And that's because humans don't do that. We watch a clip and we understand it. Now listen, I have seen maybe 50 full videos of Hassan streams. That's like 50 hours. I watched Fear Ann for a pretty long time. I consume TikTok. I see his TikToks on my feed. I don't know how much more of Hassan I need to consume to have an opinion, but I understand where you're coming from in this regard. And I just want to say out loud right now, I don't think Hassan is an evil dude. I think he's the better of people, but I also think he is, at the end of the day, a white man, a cis white man, a straight white man. Okay, yes, he's from Turkey, but like at the end of the day, he still is perceived as, right? Until people hear his name or know his background. Just like me, I'm a Syrian, but my name is Brittany. His name is Hassan, so I get it. But they see me and they go, oh, a white woman. Unless you know, you know, right? Unless you know, you know, right? Okay, so that means we get perceived and we benefit from white supremacy. We benefit from being perceived as white, period, right? Even FD Signifier made a video on Nebula interviewing white people, and Hassan was in that group, right? Because we still have white skin. So yes, I hear you when you say, but he's not white. I get you. I hear you. Same. But for the sake of this conversation, right? He's a millionaire, right? He doesn't seem to embody any particular beliefs that makes me understand his stances on things. So even though politically he says things that sound good, how does it show up in his real life? Now, I want to talk about this from a greater, in a greater way, using other streamers, because I have been in this space so long and I have collabed with so many people. When I spent that year collabing with Destiny, and I'll explain how I ended up there in the first place, because it's really interesting. And I'll explain why Hassan's reaction to me being there is really important and explains the misogyny of the space. But when I first entered that space, I was really naive because I had just come off collabing with ContraPoints and all these other people, and that was a bad experience. And then I came into this space, and the bad experience I keep seeing with all these streamers is that none of them know why they're there. No one seems to know why they do anything they do. Okay, which is why when Hassan speaks, I'm like, but why are you doing it? Same thing with Destiny, but why are you doing it? Same thing with Contra, but why are you doing it? Same thing with Lindsay. Nobody knows. And when I would ask, they would just be like, I don't get why you're asking me this question. And I'm like, I don't get how you don't get that this matters, right? Why you do what you do is everything. Now, this is why I'm a philosophy girly, right? So when I criticize your favorites, I need you to understand it's because I don't think people know why they do what they do, which is where my work comes in. I'm trying to explain to the world that nobody knows why they're doing what they're doing, even the people with the largest microphone, right? Okay, so let's see. This chat, same thing. This is my video again. Hassan fans mentioning. Okay, hold on. This one. I just think you're searching for reasons. Let me see. Let me move the screen because you guys probably can't even see it fully. Hold on. Okay. I think you're searching for reasons to hate on Hassan. This is not a good analysis at all. I'm going to have to take a step back from your work, from your content. And this person says, or you can stop kissing his ass and let him take his licks. Hassan Piker is not a god. Stop treating him like one. You're proving Brittany's point. This person said, you're so wrong. LOL. She's mostly right. Hassan isn't a revolutionary, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop watching him, which, by the way, I never would say to do. Don't continue to watch him. Continue to enjoy Hassan, right? Not all leftists are revolutionaries, and several political commentators who are quite intellectual are not yet revolutionaries, or at least not yet. I'm a big fan of Hassan, and I agree with more than half of what she said in the video. Keep in mind, I haven't finished watching the video yet. Well, several people in the comments act as if they finished the video before forming their opinion, LOL. Hassan is a great counterpoint to the professional stupidity that plagues the internet. And he always says that he's a commentator, not a politician. Hassan is right, and she is too, dumbass. So here's the thing. Though Hassan says, I'm not a politician, he is still somebody. He's not just a streamer in the same way that Charlie Kirk was not just a podcaster. And I think men, and my chat said this, my commenter said this too, men, for some reason, get this privilege of rising to fame, money, and status without any responsibility. You guys get to be famous, you get to have microphones, and you get to get away with so much more than a femme or woman could ever, let alone a gay person or a queer person, okay, or specifically like a much darker brown person, right? And you guys get to show up with your microphones, Destiny, Charlie Kirk, Asmongold, Hassan, the four biggest guys get to show up with their microphones and absolutely not be held to the same standard. They are the richest, most famous, at least in this space, who I could bring into the conversation that you guys would know their names. You've probably seen them on your TV. They've been mentioned in news stories, right? Like, these guys are pretty big. And yet they all benefit from being white millionaires, literally all white millionaires who are men, straight cis men. I mean, Destiny is technically bisexual and he's Cuban half, but he doesn't even identify with his Cuban side, because when he was talking to me about ethnicity, he was like, you're just a white woman. I was like, but I'm not just a white woman. You say that like I don't have a historical background of immigration, like I don't have a historical background of families who speak 3 languages. You're talking about a family that came from Iraq. You're talking about, you know what I mean? Like you're painting me to be some lineage that I'm not a part of. And that's because of his own issues with his Cuban side, whatever that means. That I know you can be white and Cuban. Just please, okay, everybody slow down. Okay, same thing with everything else that we have to deal with in terms of race. There's an intersection. And so we're intersectional feminists. There's an intersectionality to all of this conversation, right? Okay, I'm going to take you on an adventure. But this guy who's being interviewed by NBC is not just a streamer. You know who's just a streamer? Me. I'm just a streamer. 200 viewer streamer, I'm just a streamer. Less than 6 figures a year, I'm just a streamer. Hasan Piker doesn't get to be the largest person with a microphone on the left and interviewed by every single news station and promoted by and communicating with politicians and doing all of these things and gets to be just a guy, right?
A lot of young people, maybe first-time voters, were completely activated in a major way during Black Lives Matter. They were out in the streets, they were protesting. No justice, no peace. They did the activism, they did the voting, they voted for Joe Biden won, and then what happened? Nothing. Nothing changed.
Okay, so first of all, shout out to the One Piece shirt. We love it. He's being interviewed by all these people, right? So he is somebody, okay? And then, of course, you saw this. This is Hasan Piker's TikTok.
So the bad rap that Southside gets is a hurdle in uplifting and developing these areas.
It has been. I mean, if I'm just going to be perfectly, honest.
Because there's
with
also
you.
the other side of it where I also kind of felt like, well, at least like there's more home ownership here as well. Like there's a sense of community.
Like this is a big deal. Being able to be so big of a person that politicians want to come on your stream. That's a big deal. And he is a guy who actually does give speeches, right?
So I stand before you as a man who simply wants some semblance of justice for the Palestinians. I urge you not to lean into nihilism and succumb to helplessness.
I agree.
Because you do not need the academic pedigree to know right from wrong.
Amen.
All you need is your moral compass. As someone who has seen the Palestine question evolve over my past 10 years of public advocacy, I never would have imagined international organs demand legal restitution from America's most valuable asset. After all, there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. Thank you.
Okay, whoa, that's like a speech. Look at him in a suit. Look at him in a suit, right? Like this is serious. Like he's not playing around. This man showed up in a suit. This is recently. This just happened in Canada.
They got shot and killed like Renee Good and Alex Peretti.
Okay, I don't know who put that cheesy music on this. I'm sorry.
Rest in power. The people did not stand down under minus 35 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know if you guys use Fahrenheit here. Minus 35-degree Fahrenheit weather. It was very cold. 60,000 people got together and did a day of direct action, somewhat of a general strike. They call it a general strike. It's not the same as the traditional general.
Okay. Here's a video without music from his TikTok.
We're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects to discuss. According to all my naysayers, including the CIJA, I believe. I don't know if they're in the room right now.
Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. That's what it says on the screen.
Sorry, I'm sorry that you guys couldn't stop me from coming to Vancouver.
For the record, for those who are in the chat who don't know my work, we are not centrist here. We are left of Hasan Piker. We want to be more left, more progressive. Like, he's not progressive enough for me. This is the whole stream today, that the streamer bros all suffer from the same problem. They get to say they're socialists. They get to say they care about minorities. They get to do all these things. They get to use their money and power to, quote, impact the world, but none of them are leading progressive internalized lives. None of them are actually embodying progressive beliefs because they probably haven't sat down and meditated and done the philosophical work to even know what that means. It's really hard to practice what you preach, okay? I'm criticizing Hasan in the same way I criticize every other streamer I've ever dealt with. And yes, there's always backlash. I'm always harassed by their communities, right? But I'm saying this is my point. I am a femme presenting, okay, queer person who is saying, I see your attempt at goodness. It's not good enough because at the end of the day, you are still trying to appeal to the most people possible. And as long as you are trying to appeal to the most people possible, which Hasan has said, you are going to leave the most vulnerable behind, which is what society has always done forever. Always, forever. We are always left behind. Okay? And that has been shown time and time again with the work. I'm not saying the work isn't good and doesn't have its place. I'm saying it's just not good enough. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be. This is my opinion based off my values and my ethics, right?
But I'm gonna be talking about one of my favorite subjects, according to my haters, which is America bad. I think a lot of Canadians have learned that lesson if they weren't aware of this concept, except for the Albertans, that America is, as a matter of fact, somewhat of a parasitic force in the global New World Order. And it was actually one of my only failed predictions of 2025 when I thought that Pierre Poilievre, am I saying that right? Poilievre? Doesn't matter.
That's their conservative. Okay, you see, he's showing up. He's trying to be somebody. He says he's just a streamer, but why are just streamers showing up and being prompted? You just have to remember, I come from an era in my life. I'm old now, okay? I'm older than Hassan is, right? I come from an era where a lot of men who were considered the smartest in society, who also ended up being on the Epstein list or Epstein files, okay, Dawkins and all those people, right? Lars Krauss, all these people, I'm used to this. I know what this is, right? I think I know what this is. It's a group of men who, regardless if they wanted to or not, became famous and the loudest people with microphones, therefore always right or always uplifted as good. And then they don't have to check themselves or deconstruct because everything's working out for them, right? And so they fall behind and become more conservative over time because they don't have to. Right. So for the time when I was coming up, Richard Dawkins might have felt like revolutionary because, oh, my God, he was standing up against Christians. But now he's just a misogynistic transphobe who's got emails associated with Epstein. And he's just like a horrible person who's culturally Christian. Right. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Hassan is not exempt from being just another white millionaire man. I'm not criticizing him for making money. I'm saying that still means he falls into a specific category. Right? And then he has to do the work. Otherwise he will be. So, okay, look, here's Hassan watching Kyle Klinsky and Asman and Nick Fuentes. Okay. Listen to this, just this section.
Or no mass deportation. See, the thing Nick is advocating for that I agree with is that you should not accept to be slowly boiled. You should.
And by the way, I was very charitable to Kyle over the years, to Asman over the years, never to Nick Fuentes. He can go fuck himself. I was very charitable to Hassan. I've been always charitable to everybody, but also very blunt and opinionated and also very wrong sometimes. But I am not trying to be charitable anymore because, and I'll tell you about my Destiny run-in, okay? Because that year I spent collabing with Destiny made me so much more aware that you cannot trust a man who says he's progressive or left. Never trust a man even if he's bisexual. Because at the end of the day, okay, these men love to use these words that to you are supposed to signal safety, but actually are just a shield, and Hassan is not exempt from that. You don't get to pretend that Hassan is one of the good ones when all of these guys we thought were so good not only ended up in the files, but things come out about them afterwards, okay? So forgive me for being hesitant to not be surprised if Hassan ends up having a problem. With peace and love, if somebody comes out about Hassan, I'd be like, okay. He's like a man in a position of power who literally gets thirst cams made after him. Like, of course, there's going to be opportunities for, you know what I'm saying? And he's had plenty of people he's associated with also be outed as predators. It wouldn't be that weird if Hassan was also one. I'm not saying he is one. Do we know the difference? Do we know the difference? Do we know the difference? I'm not saying he's one. I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if he is one. Right? Okay? I'm saying, do we understand that? Because again, your willingness to just assume he's one of the good ones when you don't know him, you don't know what's really going on, is very strange because I hear you, but that's what I also did with a lot of these other guys. I kept thinking, okay, but they're probably fine, right? Oops. Uh-oh. I'll talk about it in a second, even more detail, but listen to this.
Say that if you're going to boil me, let's just get it over with. Let's get it over with. And if you're willing to do that, then maybe something will change. And so that's it.
It's so funny. He just has no like personal opinion of his own. He's just literally responding to whatever Nick Fuentes says and goes, yeah, based. And then we'll turn around and respond to whatever Trump is saying and goes, yeah, based. That's it.
No.
Okay, that's funny because that's how I feel about Hassan. I feel like Hassan has no real opinions. I do not understand what Hassan believes. If he was my brother, I'd say, but what do you believe? Why do you believe it? How did you get there? What in your life led you to this belief? How does it show up, right? Chat said, I think lumping him and Kyle and Asman and Sextony is kind of unfair. I am not lumping them together on my thumbnail. I even put them in separate sides of me. on my thumbnail. I knew you guys were going to say this. I knew your little beautiful human brains were going to say this. So I even made sure to put them on opposite sides on my thumbnail. I promise you, I already know what you're going to say. I've been doing this for so long. I know. I'm not saying that. But whether you like it or not, they are still white guys in power who are millionaires with the largest microphones. And that should tell you there's a warning bell to go off here. Okay? Now, going back to my YouTube chat, right? Let me bring it out here. Hold on. Okay. So this says this is a comment on my video about Hasan in the fact, right? In the past. From my perspective, okay, comment section here, right? Let me see. Maybe you guys can't read it as well. From my perspective, this is not me policing him at all. A leftist who claims to be anti-capitalist but also makes good money would buy their clothes at a small ethical business or secondhand vintage. Then somebody said to them, his merch, he makes merch through union-based manufacturing companies. And being someone who has a high fashion style, it would be almost impossible to get those quality of items completely sourced ethically in our current white world. Then somebody said, why? That has nothing to do with any sort of revolutionary act. Then the original commenter said, I'm talking about his actions being in tune with his principle, babes. And then I liked that comment, right? Then it said, those actions are not out of tune with his principles. You're doing a Charlie Kirk, Hasan lives like a capitalist everyday argument, buying luxury goods isn't capitalism. Okay. So let's pretend we didn't know Hasan Piker, right? Let's pretend we didn't know I was talking about Hasan. And I just told you, hey, I know a guy who's white, a millionaire, shops luxury, shops at Amazon. I think he even didn't he take a deal from Amazon, right? From Twitch? Didn't he take a literal deal? Okay, fine. Let's not count that. Let's just say, white, millionaire, shops luxury, lives in a $3 million house in LA. Donates a lot of money to charity, right? A lot of people were like, hey, he donates a lot of money to charity. Okay. So he's rich and donates a lot of money from charity, right? Came from wealth. Exactly, chat. Came from wealth. What else? Cis, straight, white man. No therapy. Yes, chat. Refuses to go to therapy. Even though his friends and family keep telling him he needs therapy, he doesn't go. What else? Right? It's like, okay, what does that sound like to you? What does that sound like to you? It's not doing him any favors. So even though it sounds like he doesn't listen to music, yes, chat, he doesn't listen to music. But that's what I'm saying. What does that sound like to you? It doesn't sound like, what's a socialist anyways? You mean like a European socialist? It's okay being a wealthy socialist, but what does that mean? Because don't you understand that to a capitalist, they're just like, yeah, so you like capitalism. You made all this money and then you donated it. That's exactly what Republicans that's why they keep saying rich people do donations. And I'm not saying he shouldn't do that. I'm saying the way you guys are saying like, oh, but he uses all this money he donates it. Okay. Great. I'm saying, again, I don't care. It's not that he shops at Amazon. It's not that he's rich. It's not any of these things. I'm saying, how does his values play into his life? What about his life reflects his opinions? What about his life follows through? Now, I'm bringing this up because when I was in the Destiny bubble, and this is very important, right? When I was in the Destiny bubble, I criticized Destiny a lot for his personal life. And people would say, Brittany, why are you making personal political? Because personal is political, right? Personal is political. What does that mean? Right? Okay, personal is political. And people said this about Hasan. Brittany, who cares if he doesn't go to therapy? Who cares where he shops? Who cares what he does? Who cares if he looks like a fuckboy? And I'm saying, well, I mean, I care a little bit, right? Like, it kind of matters, right? Because it says something about you, how you show up in the world. This chat says, the amount of friction within the left right now is so antithetical to progressivism. Pointing out every little flaw Hasan might have is just holding the movement back. I do not care if Hasan is rich. I do not care if Hasan shopped at Amazon. I do not care if he puts off fuckboy energy. Hasan does not beg to be the forefront of the progressive movement. Does not beg to be. He's a content creator in the same way that Jake Paul is. Are you sure about that? Because you guys go after Jake Paul pretty fucking hard, as we should, right? It's embarrassing that you're putting clips of him shopping and living his life like any other streamer would. See, this is a liberal, right? This is a liberal. At the end of the day, Hassan is an ally and does the right thing 80% of the time. It's embarrassing that the right wing has a discernible amount of solidarity that the left hasn't had since the 1910s. That's a liberal, right? And that's the thing. He says he doesn't want to be in charge, but then why is NBC and why ABC doing things like this?
Also known by the online name Hassan Abi, appears with Mayor Brandon Johnson in Los Angeles. The podcaster has become one of the biggest voices of the far left. Piker has debated the late Charlie Kirk several times, but his live stream with Johnson was anything but a debate, more a discussion about the mayor's progressive agenda and the people trying to derail it.
So there's been.
Do you know what I'm saying? What is this then? We criticize like Jake Paul and Logan Paul so severely because, again, yeah, and Chad said he had a private shopping experience. Not everyone has that experience. No. He didn't even have a private shopping experience. He streamed the shopping experience. They were streaming it. Now, I don't know if Hassan, I don't know who was in charge of that stream directly, but they were streaming that shopping experience. I wouldn't even know it happened unless they put it on the internet. Remember, I can't know what's happening in your life unless you put it on the internet. Otherwise, I'm just a girly minding her business. It came across my feed. And again, you know what this is, girls? This is exactly what is wrong with the world. It's wrong with this debate bubble. It's wrong with politics. Look, listen to me when I say this. When we talk about the right side of history, if we're fighting fascism, okay, if we're fighting Trump's administration, you have to understand, for the sake of the moment that exists of being in a civil war, God forbid, and it's two sides, you will still be on the right side of history and you could be a rapist. Do we not hold that rapist accountable even though they're anti-Trump? There will be anti-Trump rapists. Oh, but like he's 80% good. Okay, and these are examples. These are examples. They're not one-to-one. They're examples of how the thought works. Because I know some people are like, Brittany, that's not even the same thing. Hear me out. The point I'm trying to make is just because you did the right thing here doesn't mean I don't correct for this. That's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to say, like, how do I be less bad every day? Right? How do I be less bad? Now, okay, here's Hassan talking to his audience about double streaming because he was banned on Twitch a while back. He went and streamed on YouTube, allegedly made, from the clip I saw, like $12K from streaming, but I think he donated it, which is good, right? I think from my understanding, he donated it, which is nice. But also think about that. Think about when I stream on YouTube, guys, I'm lucky if I make $100. I'm really out here making bare minimum, but I'm still paying my bills. Hassan could bring in $12K from streaming a day. Like Charlie Penguin Zero made $34 million in 5 years from YouTube AdSense. Remember that these boys with microphones are making so much more money than any minority person is making in the same bubble. Because remember, Hassan's only real minority status is that he's from Turkey, okay, Turkey, and he's ADHD, right? And remember, him playing he's autistic is not the same because he doesn't deal with the consequences of it. If he got a real diagnosis for autism, then his enemies could use it against him. But for now, it's just a quirky thing he says to get his audience on board with him and to allow his actions to be excused instead of explained through his diagnosis or through a self-awareness of I am autistic, right? There is a difference between the responsibility it takes to say I am actually disabled or I am actually like struggling in this way. Because I am autistic. I've absolutely been like, oh, Brittany's autistic. No wonder her philosophy is so silly. It's probably her autism. Instead of, oh my God, Brittany's so cool. Look at her brain. Her autism has like allowed her to recognize patterns and to categorize people and explore a philosophical like perspective. It's, oh, look, Brittany has autism, so she must be. Except Hassan, okay, right? So I'm not saying you can't self-diagnose. I'm very pro self-diagnosis, but I'm saying if your diagnosis isn't being weaponized, then you're just writing the perks of being cool. Like he's trying to make it cool, right? Okay, now look at this. This is him explaining to his audience specifically why he's not multi-streaming on both Twitch and YouTube. And listen to the way he is strategically being about business. Oh, and last point I want to make about, let's say we didn't know it was Hassan. He works 7 days a week. His audience was always like, Brittany, he works 7 days a week. He doesn't even take a day off. He does all this amazing work for activism. Oh, so he sounds like a capitalist. Working constantly 7 days a week, doesn't have time for family and friends. His family's begging him to go to therapy and he doesn't. So which one is it? In what world is this a socialist? In what world is this a communist? In what world is this anti-capitalist? He does every single thing a capitalist would do. I give myself one day off and I have to fight that capitalistic part of my brain that says you're being lazy. I have to fight it. I have to fight that need to say, get to work, Brittany. Stream every day like everybody else. Go to work every day. And I'm like, no, we deserve to rest for our labor. And I'm not even a millionaire. I don't even make six figures. It is a sacrifice. It literally is a pay cut. I literally am like, I have to worry about rent every month like anybody else. Hassan doesn't. He is literally so wealthy. He could literally take off 6 months and still be good. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. In his position of leadership and of power, he doesn't lead by example. I am trying to lead by example by saying, guys, I didn't even turn on my computer on Sunday. Look at me. I didn't even turn on my computer because I am trying to make sure that I give myself a day of rest because we deserve to rest. Human beings deserve to rest, right? I'm saying a lot of us, for the sake of our principles, are actually taking risks versus Hassan, though taking some risks, and it is real, is not a personal risk. He's not taking very many personal risks, but it is coming at the expense of his personal life. Now watch this.
Make you come up with additional.
And by the way, guys, we watch real people's lives to learn more about our own. This isn't about Hassan. I do not want to talk to Hassan. I do not want to collab with Hassan. This is for the sake of his audience and my audience learning how to better their life and incorporate their values into their everyday, right? He's just the loudest guy with the mic. He's not just a YouTuber. He is being interviewed by the news. He is a celebrity. And if we love talking about celebrities here, okay? That's the point of talking about Hassan. I do not want to collab with him because I know if I collab with him, even though someone suggested that I should, I would just be harassed. The same way I was harassed by Destiny's community for 2 fucking years. This says, I think you should go to his home and stream with him. I would be fascinated by that convo. Thank you for having faith in me, but understand that I would be literally harassed. And I'll talk about why I know that for a fact. Other than the fact that his audience usually comes in my chat and ruins the vibe pretty quickly, I would be harassed. Okay?
Conspiracies. I was going to talk about that real quick. The reason why I'm not live streaming on YouTube is something that I already described on my Discord server and something that I already described yesterday as well. The reason why I'm not live streaming on YouTube is because I wanted to test out what it would look like to do dual streaming after I got banned. I wanted to see if I had an opportunity to be able to broadcast on YouTube if I ever got permanently banned. And it was such a success that the aftermath of the ban was such a...
So just like he did so well on YouTube. He had like 1 million views of the stream after. Like that's crazy. And he got like thousands of dollars. Like it was so successful.
Success on YouTube that I thought maybe we could test out dual streaming. The reason why I didn't do the dual streaming initially was because of the reason why I want to stop dual streaming for the time being. Okay? There's a couple of reasons for it. Number one, DMCA violations. Okay? It changes the, okay, please stop spamming 30K plus 20K is not failing, okay? I don't want to hear the background. Why did you open memberships if you weren't going to stay? Because I thought I was going to stay, and I'm going to do something for the members there regardless. I'm planning on potentially doing a members-only live stream VOD broadcast to YouTube while I simulcast to Twitch, potentially, okay?
So I'm glad his audience is saying like, so you came on YouTube, opened memberships, took our money and then bailed. And then he's like, I'm going to do something for you guys. Okay, that's good. He's holding himself accountable. I do think, again, what I'm trying to show you is that Hassan is thinking like a businessman. His primary focus here is business, not always making money, which he'll say here, but it is business. It is getting bigger. It is being popular. So when you say he's not trying to be a big person, he is absolutely trying to be a big person. Stop trying to say like he's just a person. Chad says your voice is just horrible. That's okay. I'll mute, I'll block you, and then you can leave stream and then you don't have to hear it anymore. Right? Great example. If I had a better voice, if I looked different, if my gender was different, if I was perceived differently, I would be more popular. Thank you for proving my point. I know for a fact that my voice is one of the reasons people don't like me. Right? Yeah, I get it.
But here are a couple of reasons. Let me explain myself before you guys freak out on me, because you're going to freak out on me anyway. Number one, okay? When I do dual streaming, the reason why I didn't want to dual stream initially was because when I dual stream, it splits the audience. It's that simple. And because most of these platforms are very top heavy in terms of, especially Twitch, more so than YouTube. but especially Twitch. Twitch's discoverability is entirely reliant on it being a top-heavy platform. There's no discoverability on Twitch outside of being at the top or at like almost the top of the leaderboard, the directory. My goal here is not to max out on revenue. If my goal here was to max out on revenue, I would just continue live streaming, dual casting to YouTube as well, because the reality of the matter is the YouTube live stream was generating a tremendous amount of revenue. Okay. And not just from the memberships. I turned down the YouTube live stream. I did. The reason why I am back to single.
So listen. Okay. I mean this so respectfully. Listen to what he said. He said, I'm turning it down for the money, right? Which almost sounds good. And I hear him and I'm going to authentically assume he's over-explaining in a very autistic way, which I understand. And I appreciate the transparency, but listening to his reason for why.
Platform streaming. This doesn't mean that I will never stream on YouTube ever again. But the reason why I am single platform broadcasting is because I don't want to split the audience. I can't pay attention to the YouTube chat. YouTube chat already has latency. There's an issue with the delay regardless. And I can't look at both chats at the same time, at least for the time being. Okay? We're working on solutions to all of this. I know that the YouTube audience has its advantages. For a lot of the older folks that want to watch, they can watch on their TVs. They can watch on their Apple Watches. They can watch on their refrigerators. Okay? I know. I'm aware of this. What? Please work with your YouTube partner manager. Creators at your level have access to creator rev share splits with owners unless the rights holder scrapped that. That was implemented back in 2023. I don't know what that is. Anyway, I don't give a shit about that. Okay? The entire backbone of this broadcast, of my style of broadcasting and live streaming, is the community interaction. Okay? Is the chat back and forth. I can't do that with YouTube. So the YouTube audience is getting something entirely different from that experience. They're just getting convenience. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I understand the convenience part. I understand the convenience part of it. But like I said, it ends up splitting the viewership. It ends up splitting the chat. It ends up causing me to have less viewership overall on Twitch, which is my primary platform and my primary mechanism for discovery.
Okay. This is the Beyonce of it all. I said this yesterday, or the last time I covered Hasan, I said he's the Beyonce of YouTube, the Beyonce of the left. Okay. So a lot of people who are Beyonce fans all their life, me, we all thought we're going to support our girl. We're going to promote her. We're going to believe in her. And when she gets rich and famous, she's going to uplift the community with her. Women, black people, okay. She's going to be the girl. Then she got famous and nothing happened. She just did more tours. She just did more albums. She just did more deals. She just sang in foreign countries. She just did more things. Okay, now you're a billionaire. Okay, now what? It's like nothing. All they're thinking about is the next money-making thing, being famous, being discoverable, being trending, staying famous. So Hasan is saying, I don't want to split the audience. And also, I don't want to lose the momentum I have on Twitch, which is my primary streaming platform, because that's the discoverability. Like he's being strategic. These are the games that I do not play because it feels dirty and capitalistic. Okay, I cannot bring myself. I have never been good at bringing myself to playing these games online because I just feel slimy doing it, which is why I will never be famous, but I accept it because a girl doesn't want to be famous either, right? It would be nice to have maybe a retirement, but it does feel really sleazy, but it is a part of the way you maintain fame and relevance. Like that's why he talks about Asmongold. That's why he talks about Destiny. It's why they want to debate each other because it keeps them relevant. It's why he was willing to talk to Charlie Kirk. Versus I can't talk to these men. After I talked to Destiny, I realized like, oh, I can't talk to these men. Yes, I could do it to stay famous. Yes, I could do it to get rich. But if I talk to these men, then I'm not only collabing with predators, but I'm collabing with Nazis, or I'm collabing with white nationalists, or I'm collabing with bigots and conservative. What's the point of this? Like, what is the point of taking a stand and doing something principled and then showing up to debate them anyways, except to remain popular and in the know? FD Signifier, remember FD Signifier, who I respect, friend of the show, FD Signifier. He is very cautious about who he collabs with debates. Remember when he was going to debate a Destiny, and he told Destiny, if you donate, I'll debate you. If you donate 10K, and then him and Abba went halvesies on the police, and FD went, go fuck yourself, and basically go fuck yourself. That's what I'm saying. FD knows. He knows the game. And he made me pop my bubble about the game too. He was like, they're fucking with you. Like, they're not serious. And I was like, oh, they're not. Even though FD talks very nicely about Hasan, and that's fine. Okay. what I'm trying to say is that I don't have the privilege of looking at another man in power and not raising an eyebrow. Because FD at the end of the day is a man. And so he has the privilege in that sense to look at Hasan and go, yeah, he's a good guy. Well, as a femme person, as a perceived woman person, I look at Hasan and I think, like, are you another one? Like, are you another one of those guys who looks really good on a dating app, but then you realize, like, uh-oh, I'm not saying he is. I'm saying you have to be willing to give minority people an opportunity to make sure, because so many times we have been burned by the same people who said they would be good, who said they were doing the right thing. But then how does it play into your life? And FD has criticized Hasan for some of the ways he's personally showed up, like his car and maybe the way he flashes some stuff. Like, okay, bro, where's the humility? Right? Where's the humility? Okay, so again, we're not saying Hasan Piker is evil. We're saying he's a man. I'm not saying he's evil. I'm saying he's white. I'm not saying he's evil. I'm saying he's a millionaire. I'm not saying he's evil. I'm saying he knows the strat. He knows the strat. You can decide if he's evil. I don't think of Hasan as an evil guy. I think of Hasan as, that's a man right there. You know what I mean? That's a man right there. And I know Hasan donates, and I know he does a lot of great things, but I don't think that really matters. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't erase the other things. Right? Okay. Wait, chat says even FD said Hasan wouldn't get invited to the cookout in his white man tier list. Damn, bro. I did not see that part. Damn. There you go. Okay, there you go.
Okay, those are the reasons. Now, for all the people who signed on for a membership, I am working something out where I will potentially do a members-only live broadcast. If you would like to continue the membership, if you don't, you can refund it. Pretty simple process. It's not the end of the world if you want to do that. Having said that, I am planning on potentially doing a membership-only live refeed to my YouTube channel, to my YouTube broadcast. Your audience on Twitch is maxed out, brother. Okay, guys, here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to have, 17,453 micromanagers that come to me, a 34-year-old live broadcaster who has been professionally doing this for the past 12 years, and explain to him how you actually know better on how to do what I'm doing. Okay, I don't come to your accounting job and tell you to.
Okay, I actually feel this. I've said the same thing to you guys. Like, guys, I know what I'm doing. I do this for full time. I do this. So neurodivergent to neurodivergent, I understand. But I also try to go home and meditate on what you guys tell me and say, okay, can I give the viewers what they need? And how does this work for my autism, my PDA, my relationship with, like, feeling like this is my space, and also I want to give my viewers a chance to be heard, right? So 100% from human to human, I understand this feeling, right? But also, I think what's interesting is that he's talking about strategy. He is one of the biggest guys. He just said he has 17,000 people watching him. Exactly. And I think that means you do have a little bit more responsibility with what that means generally compared to somebody who has 200 people watching her. Right? Now, if you guys want to make me famous and you want to make it so I have 17,000 people watching me, I will change the way I do things. I will show up very different on stream because the responsibility will be greater. The same way, like, your single life looks different than your married life looks different than your parent life. Like, if I had kids, my life would look very different because the responsibility levels would change. And that's kind of what it's like to go from 200 viewers to like 10,000 or 20,000. If I had 20,000 viewers, it would be like I had a kid. Now it's different, right? Okay.
Do your accounting job better than you. I don't come over and hang over your head while while you got one ear listening to me on your on the Twitch broadcast or on the YouTube broadcast and tell you, hey, actually, you're not crunching those numbers correctly. Okay, so please stop backseating how I live broadcast. Okay, I don't come to the docs and slap the cocks out of your mouth. Exactly. So I know everybody wants me to listen to them and them only because they have the best ideas, and I know it's coming from a nice place. Okay, so would that be refeed just a one-off or like several streams?
Okay, do you see the way I think from the human perspective, I see all this. I see what he's doing, okay? Now, does anybody have any questions before I get into the misogyny of it all? Okay, the actual misogyny of it all. Hold on, let me keep this up. Let me know, do you guys have any questions? Okay, I want to get to the misogyny of it all. Actually, before I do though, let me do this. Let me do the therapy section, then we'll do the misogyny section because I think it's important. Because I think it plays into the misogyny part. So as you guys know, Hasan infamously told Gianmarco that he hasn't been to therapy and all his friends have recommended he go to therapy and he just hasn't done it, right? He may joke about like, oh, my audience is my therapist, right? Okay. So these are comments I got about therapy. I'd mentioned therapy. Guys, just so you know my position, I do not think therapy is a one size fits all. I do not think I do believe a good therapist can save lives. I think a bad therapist could ruin lives. I think a therapist should be a medically trained professional who understands the science of the brain and or understands how our childhood impacts our understanding of the world. I think your therapist should be progressive and deconstructed. I think your therapist should be well aware of niche communities, and I think you have the right to vet your therapist aggressively. I did DBT. It really saved my life. I was basically, I was either going to kill myself or I was going to get better. So I went to my therapist and I said, hey, I need to do therapy because I'm either going to kill myself or, you know what I'm saying? And she said, okay, let's lock in. I said, okay. And we locked in together. Okay. And she gave me the tools I needed to not kill myself. But also I needed to do philosophical work. I needed to really ask myself, what am I doing on the planet? What does it mean to exist? Why do I get out of bed every day? And I know a majority of people don't even have those thoughts because a majority of people don't think that way, but I do. And it's probably pretty relatable to a lot of autistic people or neurodivergent people because for me, I am constantly thinking, like I've been that way since I was a kid. That's why I've read thousands of books. It's why I love watching thousands of videos on YouTube. It's why I love watch, consume, listen, because I'm always trying to figure out like, what is the purpose of all of this? What is the point of all of this? You know, this thing that we're doing. Okay. Now, I did get some comments from Hassan's fans, which are not that surprising since he's pretty anti-therapy himself. But listen to this. It says, I was really depressed, wanting out. And at 16, convinced my parents to let me go to shrinks in therapy. None of them ever understood anything I said, and they harmed me and re-traumatized me repeatedly and continuously for years. Well, I was trapped in an abuse by several people. That was 32 years ago, and I was 16. I'm now free of abuse and free from, quote, therapy. But in the quiet peace, sometimes I wonder what could have been. As I was asking for guidance and protection, as I was mistreated from birth until the last year, and I never actually was listened to, heard, or spoke to therapists. So I don't know. So this is obviously like a really rough case. To be a person who feels like they've genuinely been abandoned since birth and they feel like they've been abused their whole life, that's a really rare case. You are not the typical, right? A typical person has some level of dysfunction. You know, I always say I'm medium traumatized, medium dysfunctional. If you're on the more extreme side of dysfunction, you're going to need a lot more help because you are starting from a very different place than somebody who has two parents who are together and happy, never had to worry about electricity bills, never had to pay their parents' bills. Like that's a very different relationship to life. And I wish it had worked out for you better, but this is, you know, that's your real life. And I see it and I hear you. That is not Hassan's life, though. And Hassan does have enough history. He has enough tools. He has enough access to therapy. And also, you can have I had a bad therapist. My first therapist was like not a good therapist, right? And so you do have to weed out the good and the bad therapist. But I hear you. Okay, I hear you. This one is kind of long. It says the idea that we need to just go to therapy and that must manifest as some sort of bulwark against bigoted ideas. I don't know what this means. Neoliberal ideas bear in mind good 99% of all therapists are likely to going to be neoliberal because we're in the West and is woefully dismissive of the full complexity of the topic. Okay, so they go in, It says, so yeah, I get why a socialist Turkish man may have some trepidation and lack of faith in ability of white neoliberals to be able to understand any of his existence and interpersonal problems. I mean, my therapist was an Asian lady. You could just get a woman of color or a man of color. Yes, it's hard, but they're there. You could literally just make sure you're a therapist. You can ask like, hey, I need a therapist with my background. I need a therapist who understands my struggles. Every day, young people are becoming therapists who are minorities. That's the point. That's why we need better therapists. Okay. And then the conversation went on in a really interesting way. And let me see here. Okay. I said I'd cover this on stream. This person said, go to therapy. It ain't that bad. Then this person said, dang, you solve systemic racism in therapy. I don't know why non-white people haven't thought about that. I said, hey, I'll cover this on stream. A reminder that living under systemic racism plus is a traumatizing experience and people deserve to have their pain healed in any way possible because it does impact us mentally. Good mental health professionals save lives. And I said this because, let me bring it up here. Hold on a second, girls. because this discussion just came on my feed as an example. So here's the problem with men as a system is they think they're the only ones who don't need therapy, and therapy is for girls. And then this runs in the circles of people of color. This runs in circles of politics. All these men go, look at all these big problems that are happening. Look at all these horrible things that are happening. I can't possibly go to therapy. The world is ending. Okay, girl, you ever thought the world is ending because no one's going to therapy? Like, that's a problem. Now, I do understand that people in my comment section were saying, Brittany, you sound like a Republican. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I'm not telling you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I'm saying all of us are complicit and all of us need to do work to do better because no one can go to therapy for you. But if we're not going to hold individuals accountable, I guess I can't blame people for voting MAGA then. Do we think we should hold people accountable for voting MAGA? Do you think we should look at people funny for voting for Trump? Because that's just an individual action, right? What does it matter? What does it matter if they go to therapy? What does it matter if they ever get better? What does it matter if they ever look at their own problems? Like, how are we supposed to solve problems if we don't realize we're the problem? The world is a reflection of itself as a whole. We are the problem with the world. And the systems suck as well. But the systems are maintained by us. When we talk about intersectional feminism and we talk about white women upholding white supremacy and patriarchy, even though it comes at a disadvantage to them, that's still them. That's still their responsibility, as well as our responsibility to tackle systems and to tackle our own prejudice. Do white women who are racist, who uphold patriarchy and white supremacy, not need to work on that because the system is white? Like, that doesn't make sense. Okay? Here's an example of something that's been going viral that maybe you've seen and maybe you haven't. Let me bring it up for you. Of Black men on this round table talking about therapy, talking about these things, right? Okay. Chad says, I wish therapy wasn't so expensive because having to pay $100 per session to try to find someone good while already in debt just sounds crazy. I know. And I did that. That was my story. Okay. I had thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of credit card debt. And I put another $3,000 for therapy and it transformed my life. Right. That's why Hassan is so irresponsible with his platform, because here he is in a completely position of privilege. And he is not doing the thing. And not only is he not doing the thing, he's sending a signal to his audience like, you don't have to do the thing either. He's saying, why go to therapy? That's why I think it's bad. Okay? That's why I think it's like, hey, there are people out here who wish they could afford therapy and you're just, okay, check this out.
But go ahead. So the one thing that I just want to talk about in Luke, make sure I say the name right, crop this part out. Okay. What Luke brought up was like accountability. Like, yes, we can talk about, what our families did to us, all this, all that. But eventually, and I know why people try and say this, and I really don't like that, but eventually comes a point where you have to decide, how do I want to live my life? I haven't talked to my daddy in 6 years. I don't give a fuck about what my family has gone through. I know where I will go. So it's like, you can only say that for so long. Black women are tired and, kind of like putting onto them like, hey, you didn't do this entirely, because everybody in here, several people have talked about going to counseling. Have that upon yourself. Stop waiting for a woman to tell you what you need to do. Take that upon yourself.
Let me address that real quickly. For me, I didn't know fucking how to
Can I say one more thing? No, I have to say this, because another thing that happens is, too, you live your life for so long, and I'm not meaning no disrespect by this.
It's all right, just say it, bro.
But when you hit your 60s and your 70s, I want to be right.
Okay, but let me...
I want to live my life right. I want someone to take care of me and protect me, and that's what a lot of women have issues with.
Because I'm living it right the fuck now.
As I said.
Listen to
I said 60s and 70s.
Let me say this.
Don't overtalk me.
I'm going to fucking overtalk you because you're talking out of line.
But you're not going to disrespect me.
You don't know what the fuck you talking about.
Oh, I am.
I do. Love it.
I do.
You don't know what the fuck you talking about.
Oh, I do.
You can't
I do. I do.
You don't know it, nigga.
I do.
I'm good. You don't know what the fuck you talking about. Fuck out of here. I'm living. You can't tell me what the fuck I'm living, nigga. I'm living it right now. You cannot fix no shit that you don't even know is happening.
I think there's a misunderstanding.
No, but he's generalized. You can't. No, listen, bro. Let me stop. This is what it is. Let's get to the truth of this shit. You can't fix no shit unless you meet somebody who is on another level to help you elevate to understand. I'm not indicting anybody. I'm telling you what the shit is. You can't fix some shit that you don't know about, bro.
Yeah.
You can't. And then you get there at 69 or 70 and say, I thought I was being loved all this time. That's what our parents have gone through, and that's why we all so fucked up right now.
You asked, how do we love?
Hold on, I just want to pause it right there. So we know what's happening, right? We're saying that two things can be true at once. You might not know until you know, and you are still responsible for figuring it out sooner. Yes, we understand you can't know until you know. That's how I feel about everybody. Nobody knows anything. And that's why we keep giving them chances. Well, they're 30, they don't know. They're 40, they don't know. They're 50. Okay, at what point were you responsible for knowing? At what point was it your job to fucking read a book or find out? Right? Chat says, I hear you, but to be fair, Hassan does encourage his listeners to go to therapy. I've heard him many times say to encourage people to find hobbies in real life, friends, go to the gym. I'm saying it doesn't matter what you tell people to do, because the moment they find out you're not doing it, they say, why the fuck should I do it then? Destiny used to do this. And I used to say, Destiny, how could you ask people to do XYZ if you're not doing XYZ? He'd say, oh, it's like if I was a smoker and I told people not to smoke. Yeah, but why are you telling people not to smoke when you're a smoker? Because they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to smoke, they want to cheat, they want to not go to therapy, but they want to tell you you're responsible. And then they want to be the millionaires with the microphones while you guys are sitting here struggling to pay fucking rent and pay for your groceries. You are paying these millionaires to tell you to do things they won't do themselves. Think about that. You are paying, if you are a Hassan member, if you pay to his stream, you are paying a millionaire to tell you to go to therapy when he won't get himself into the office. That's crazy. That is the craziest shit I've ever heard. Okay? Jet says not everyone has trauma. How come everyone needs therapy? Because everyone deserves it. Everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone deserves to acknowledge the world is shit. Everyone acknowledges to have their traumas experience. Like, you might have personal trauma the way you think, but everybody has to deal with the world the way it is. And everyone deserves a medical professional to tell them, hey, you are having a relationship to capitalism, to struggle, to all of these things you feel in your body. This didn't just come out of nowhere. You are feeling the consequences of living in a capitalistic world. You are feeling the consequences of having to pay rent to a landlord who doesn't give a fuck about you. Like, you are feeling all of that. It is so real, and you have every reason to feel fucking stress. Stress is a literal killer. You are dying because of stress. Now, look, I saw this Instagram post. This is capitalism sells me therapy to cope with the problems capitalism creates. But first, it convinces me my suffering is an individual failure, not a systemic one. Listen, the dilemma with this thing is that whether you like it or not, there are two folds to needing therapy. Therapy that is personal from your own brain, like comes out of you, genetic, born with, experiencing through your brain. And two, the one that's getting you from the environment. My depression was very environmentally related. Once I changed environment, once I got out of the space I was in, my depression almost completely went away. My other problems did not go away, right? Because it's not just the environment alone. You can change your environment to a perfect one, but at the end of the day, you still might be disabled. You still might be having problems. You could still be schizophrenic. You need resources and support, right? Chat, Allegra, for the super chat, thank you so much. My dad is 65, started therapy for growing up in an abusive home in the last few years. That's amazing. He's making genuine progress. I'm so proud of him. It's never too late to get help and change. Thank you for your work. Thank your dad for his efforts. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And yes, Chad, a good therapist will recognize the systems that are fucking you up. Exactly. Exactly. You know what's crazy about this Instagram post is so many of these comments are like, fuck therapy, therapy's evil, therapy is just pharmaceutical companies selling you drugs. You sound like conspiracy theorists that are like, ADHD doesn't need medication. Okay, but that spark you're holding on to is you having a fridge full of food you have not eaten, which you couldn't afford to buy in the first place, you sleeping through 10 alarms and never showing up for your kids because you keep missing all their ballet recitals. Like, your spark is beautiful, but girl, take your goddamn meds. Or in some cases, maybe do different ways, have different systems in place to organize your life, right? Don't take your meds, whatever you need to do to better yourself. But you cannot sit here and be grumpy about the universe and tell me I'm not going to do anything about it because life is unfair. It never was fair in the first place. And yet for the audacity of people not to hold two things at the same time. You got to hold two things at the same time. Medical communities have been racist, homophobic, misogynistic. Black women's bodies were experimented on cut open with no medication, no numbing effects for the benefit of white women. We know how fucked up these systems are. We know the history, which is why people are trying to change it. Minority people every day are going to school, getting their licenses, and joining these communities to change things, which is why I started off stream showing you 5 Black surgeons and medical professionals at the head of this hospital to show you that times are changing. Pay attention. If you want to be on the right side of history, move towards the future. And the future is acknowledging that 2 things can be true at the same time. We are impacted by the systems and we're impacted by our brains. Our brains are the filter in which we have a relationship to everything inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves. Introspection, extrospection. This guy here, this 70-year-old man who's saying, I didn't know better. Well, you were busy figuring it out. People were being hurt along the way. That is why no human being gets to exist on the planet and not do harm. You have to be a little less bad every day, because while you're figuring it out, you are hurting people, because that is the dilemma with being a person, because you are an animal evolved over millions of years. Like, we are all biological creatures on a planet. Okay? That is the dilemma. That is the problem. I know, I hear you. It's never going to be black and white, but it certainly requires you to eventually be an adult and know that life is hard and do something about it. Okay? I understand you might be in a giving up situation. I hear you. I'm with you on that. I'm on the other side of it, and I'm telling you, when you're ready, you can be too. But if you're still feeling out nihilism, if you're still feeling out existential dread, if you're still looking at the world like, oh my God, I got to go to work and I have to pay my bills, and what is this for? This is life. This is what life is. Life is getting up, producing, going to bed. But that production can look differently if we liberate society, if we liberate our families. And you have to understand, even if the system is dismantled, you still have to go home to your predator father and your abusive mother and your horrible siblings and all of the other things that come into play, because you did not just fall out of a coconut tree. Shout out to our favorite Israeli fan, Harris. That's a joke, because we're pro-Palestine here. Let's see. Lashes for Ashes. Thank you so much for the super chat. I do like that quote from Harris, though. You didn't just fall out of a coconut tree. So beautiful, so important, so everything. Right? Okay, let's finish this out.
Black women. Yeah. That's right here. Trust Black women and listen to Black women, because they know more than we do what it is that they need.
I don't think that's true either. There's a lot of Black women who don't know how to love.
I'm not talking about what they know how to love. I'm saying what they need as far as the reproductive.
I get that.
We're talking about, that's what we're talking about right now. Also, if we're going to use our privilege and power as men in society, how do we show up and be accountable? Like you said, the way to be accountable is to dismantle patriarchy, because patriarchy makes it so that men have the power and women do not.
But you can't get.
I love, by the way, this is what I'm not seeing from Hassan. I'm seeing a very super level, superficial commentary about patriarchy from Hassan. I am not seeing him actually having the conversations. I'm not seeing them. Okay, what I am seeing is Hassan playing into a normie stereotype of being a straight guy with women friends and people of color friends and queer friends. And he's so confident in his masculinity, he can have friends who are gay. That's what I keep seeing from Hassan. I'm not seeing real, in-depth conversations about community and liberation. And look, maybe he's not supposed to be the one having that conversation. But don't you think it's a little hard for the one guy that the news says is the biggest voice with a platform not being that guy? Don't you think that's kind of crazy that the one guy, the biggest guy, you know what I'm saying? Now, this is an example of that, okay? People of color friends, LOL. POC, people of color friends. Wait, did that sound funny? Just because that probably sounded funny. Okay, listen. Watch this. This just happened. So Will Neff is asking Caleb a question, and Hassan gets distracted.
On you quickly, because over the last year, you have quickly become my favorite social media creator. That whenever I scroll over one of your videos, I know I'm gonna laugh. What is your comedic background? Like, where did you become so damn funny?
Hassan, right when we start talking about me, don't check your Apple Watch for me, okay?
Yeah.
I ordered. Okay, it felt bad when they started to pile on. I thought it was gonna be fun.
No, I'm gonna get so cooked on this. This is what people get mad at me over all the time. I did it because I got a notification because I ordered coffee because I thought you were getting me a cold brew.
Oh, is that what you meant by that? Well, let's ask the audience. Okay, let's ask the audience if you thought I should bring a cold brew.
Okay, wow.
'Cause maybe we'll find out after. That's interesting. I texted. It's at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, by the way.
Yeah.
I said
On Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day. I
Yeah.
texted Hassan. I said, "You want a coffee?" He said, "I'm supposed to ask you that." He didn't. I said, "Gotta wake up pretty early to best me, brother." Then he sent me a selfie of himself at the gym. And said, "But I recommend Koufax cold brew if you like that." I said, "Let's discuss their breakfast burritos." He said, "They're fire. I won't be partaking though." In what part of that message did you think I was supposed to bring you a cold brew?
Well, I was just trying to subtly say I would like a cold brew.
That's crazy.
But the thing about Hassan that you have to understand, you have to ask him multiple times. Sometimes he won't.
Yeah, I was
respond.
texting and driving
in
too.
person.
It's like trying to become Jewish. You have to go to the rabbi multiple times.
Yeah.
He said I was texting and driving. So again, not only, right? Like not only is he a bad communicator, which makes sense, but he also was texting and driving. Do you know what I'm saying? What are his embodied beliefs? What is his, I'm just saying, like, what is his, Chet said, but we all do. Absolutely do not. No, we do not. We might have all texted and drove at one point, but I remember the day I stopped texting and driving. I remember that day so clear. I was like, I'm done with this. This is stupid. Why am I doing that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why am I even fucking doing that? It's stupid. It's so unnecessary. People streaming and driving, absolutely dangerous, right? Chet said, this is so not nitpicking. Okay, I know you think that. I know you think I'm nitpicking. I'm saying the point is to elevate us and liberate us towards a future where we're thinking about more than just ourselves. Texting and driving is statistically so unsafe. Texting and streaming is so unsafe. It is so unsafe and unnecessary. You are putting at risk so many people's lives. And for what, Habibi? Who are you texting right now? That's so important. Park, pull over, go to the parking place. Wait a second. You do not need to text and drive. Nothing is so important that you need to text and drive. Okay? I know where you're at right now in your life. You're like, oh, but this makes sense. Oh, I just had one beer. Oh, I just had 2 shots. Oh, I'm not even that drunk. Oh, I know. And I'm saying it would be nice to live in a world where we eventually learn to not do these things. And we're not going to get there unless we call it out. And I know you think I'm nitpicking because I'm also a woman. It's a very gendered word to say nitpicking. Oh, you're nagging. You're nitpicking. Oh, you're being so, like, those are very gendered, misogynistic words, by the way. Okay? And like Chad said, putting people's lives in danger is not nitpicking, but that's what it is, right? So now I'm the girl who's over-exaggerating the harm, and I'm so silly, and I'm so emotional, and that's what you're doing, right? Okay? That's what you're doing. Okay? So, okay. Chad says it's not contrary to him being a leftist. I don't understand the structure for your argument. He has flaws as a person. Everybody has flaws. It's about what is your embodied. Wait, did Chad just say I'm a woman too? Okay, didn't I just cover how women uphold patriarchal standards and women uphold misogyny and women uphold white supremacy? Do you think you being a woman exempted you from being held accountable? Again, if you don't have these beliefs, say it with your full chest. Say, I don't care about my community. I'm willing to risk their lives. And at the end of the day, I'm into it. Okay? Like, just say that. Say it with your full chest. I'm saying with my full chest, my opinion. I'm saying say it with your full chest. Okay? Chat says my sister's ambulance was hit by someone who was texting and driving. Thank you. Okay? Thank you, chat. Rise again for the super chat. Thank you so much. Says, I know you're serious when you break out Habibi. Listen to me right now. Okay? Chat said I'm also a black woman. Hey, first of all, I can't verify that, but I believe you. And I welcome you. And also, I disagree with you if you think I'm being nitpicky. Is that the same chatter? Hold on, I have to scroll up now because I don't know. Don't act like we've all not done this before. Okay, girl, so like, what's the issue? We disagree. I think you're putting people's lives at danger unnecessarily. I used to do it too. I don't do it anymore. Right? So do we agree? Are you willing to say, yes, I'm willing to put people's lives I'm willing to risk people's lives to send a text. I'm saying I'm no longer willing to do that. At my ripe age of 36, I am no longer willing to risk people's lives for a text message. Where are you on that? You tell me, okay? Check out this video.
No.
Oh, wait, I want you to see. Hold on. Okay, watch. Wait.
I want to put the focus.
Okay, watch this.
That he's gay.
Who
if he
wouldn't have?
didn't. You probably would not have even known that he's gay.
Who
if
wouldn't
he
have?
didn't. You probably
Me?
would not have known.
Did you know I was gay when you walked in?
Honey, I knew you were gay. I knew you were gay from miles and miles away.
Did you just sense that there was a homosexual?
Driving over here, I said, there's going to be a little gay guy.
What about it makes me? Because some people can't clock me as
The
a
way you hugged
homosexual.
me.
Really?
You gave me a gay guy hug.
What's a gay
You
guy
gave me a
hug?
gay- When you give a straight guy a hug, it's not out of fear usually or malice, but there is, after about 1.5 seconds, their body tenses in a way that's like, we should probably let go.
Wait, what about me? Did I give you a gay guy hug?
No, you tensed.
No!
You tensed.
The reason I hugged you the way that I did is I wanted to send a signal.
Yeah, and you
that
did.
You were safe.
He lingered in a very homosexual
Yeah,
way.
I can blend in, and I will give the, I'll do the straight guy thing.
Oh yeah, I'll go in with one of these, no
exactly,
problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like to make them feel
You know,
safe.
You probably would not have even.
There's like this thing that happens in his streams, which is like fine generally, right? This like, I'm just a straight guy who's giving hugs and I want to make people feel safe and it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like he is a normie guy who is exactly in the position of privilege he would be in as that normie guy, right? He is the system working. Hassan is the system working. That's why Charlie Kirk and all those people think he's funny. They think he's playing the same game they're playing because they're like, hey, you're doing the same thing we're doing, right? You agree, the system works. Look at us. We're both famous. We're both rich. We're both, whatever. Look at us. Like, they're like, yeah, we're all doing that. They all think they're doing the same thing. And I can't help but feel like, are you doing the same thing they're doing? Because I remember when Destiny's community accused me of that. They're like, oh, Brady's doing the same thing we're doing. And I'm like, no, I am not. I am not playing this game you guys are playing. And to make that clear, I deliberately made choices in how I interacted with people, which is why I say I will not collab with Hassan. Because if I collab with Hassan, then yes, I'd be playing the game. Maybe in 10 years when he's better. But with who he is right now, I would just get harassed. I would just get accused of clout chasing. I would not be seen as a woman who has a brain of her own. I would be seen as somebody with a smaller channel who's trying to ride on Hassan's coattails, which is ridiculous, right? But I wouldn't be seen as an older woman, right? I'd be seen differently. So it wouldn't do me any justice. I wouldn't be actually treated as an intellectual. I'd be treated as a gamer girl or a streamer girl, or I'm not even a gamer, but you know what I mean? Like a girl. And that's the point of the misogyny, is that I'm not and I'll show you this right now, how I'm going to prove this to you in a second. Okay, we're going to go back to okay, that's the therapy section. We're going to go to the misogyny section after, eventually. Let me do this section here, because this plays in, well, actually, this is the start of the misogyny section, I suppose. Okay, hold on. Actually, wait. I know this is a weird time to do it. Let's take a 2-second break. We'll come back and I'll jump into the misogyny section. That solidifies for me, again, one of the reasons that it's not about nitpicking. It's about observing correctly what we're seeing and holding people accountable. And also me sharing my own views. Because remember, girlies, I want to grow an audience too that knows why they're seeing me or watching me or listening to me. Like, why should you support Brittany Simon if she doesn't share your values, right? Like, I get supporting people that don't always share your values. I used to do that a lot in my liberal days. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to also signal to the community that I want to build. A majority of the people who watch me are women. I've got a lot of people here that I really like, and I want more of those people to find me, but I will never be mainstream. I will never be normie enough to be mainstream. I'm not Hassan Piker. Hassan is very normie digestible, and that should be a part of the red flag. Okay? Okay? That said, when you come back, I'd love to understand how this is holding anyone accountable. I'll answer it right now. When Brittany says hold people accountable, I mean to the standard in which they're exhibiting or stating their position. So if Hassan says, I'm progressive and I'm a socialist and I'm this thing, okay, prove it. What is the proof I have that this makes sense? Now, again, I'm not a conservative. I'm not these people. And again, the only reason Hassan has to prove it is because he's the biggest guy on the left, right? It's exactly what Bell Hooks was saying about Beyonce. It's like, you need to be able to call out Beyonce, but you first have to understand all of the things to understand Beyonce and still take into consideration she is a Black woman who made it in America and she made it in a capitalistic system. It's about saying, I understand as a viewer what I'm seeing. I'm holding myself accountable. We're holding ourselves accountable by making sure we understand what we're observing, right? Am I aware of what I am seeing? Can I hold myself accountable? Right? That's the point. And so that's really what all of my content is about. It's about using real people to ask ourselves how to understand ourselves better and everything outside of the world. Everything outside of us, right? So the world. Okay? I'll be right back. Leave your comments. I'll answer them when I get back, and then we'll move into the next section. Okay? Here we go. Okay, I'm back. Pausing music in 1, 2, and 3. Okay, any comments you guys need me to answer before I continue? Chat says, I really struggle with believing in accountability on the internet. It comes across as yelling at people. I'm not trying to get Hassan's attention. I just want to make that abundantly clear. Please do not DM me. Please do not try to reach out to me. Please do not talk to me. I am not trying to get Hassan's attention. I am not trying to get people to be anti-Hassan. I'm trying to get people to stop treating Hassan like he doesn't have problems. And when we point out those problems, we're not all of a sudden anti-Hassan. Because I am not these centrist libs that you guys are so afraid of. Even the other day, he was watching Philip DeFranco talk about him. And he's like, God, Philip's gonna I showed this on stream the other day, oh, Phil's gonna centrist me or something. And then he did it and he goes, oh, he's defensive too. I get it. We're defensive because we're real people and we have real feelings, right? You know, could help him? Therapy. You know what else could help him? Taking a break. You know what else could help him? You know what I mean? So many things. I get it. He's very defensive. I get it. We've all been there. I'm saying the difference is, and this is what I'm saying, okay? I'm not trying to be anti-Hassan. I'm trying to say he still just is a man with a microphone. And, you know, when I'm with my queer people, with women of color especially, we can often have these conversations and they go, oh yeah, obviously, right? Like, obviously. But when I come to the internet and I share this, all of a sudden it's all these people that are doing so much work for Hasan. And that makes me go, oh, I should talk about this more, because now what should have happened is, oh yeah, you have a point. Definitely based off progressive values. I hear you. And then we should just moved on. But we didn't move on, which tells me either a bunch of liberals are watching Hasan and they're defending him, or a bunch of people who say they're progressive haven't quite deconstructed, which is fine, because that's the whole point of my work, is to say we all exist in bubbles and we're limited by those bubbles. Hasan lives in a bubble. I live in a bubble. We live in a bubble. This is a bubble. Bubbles are perception, and we are biological creatures at the mercy of that perception, right? Chad says, what do you recommend to do on your free days to truly rest? Well, in Assyrian culture, I'm Assyrian, what we do is we listen to music, we eat seeds, we drink tea, we sit down, we spend a lot of time relaxing, we play music together. What I did this week is I cleaned on Saturday. I did all the chores at the house Saturday. So all of Sunday, I did not turn on my computer once. I chilled with my partner. I did fun things around the house that I wanted to do, like projects. I watched some shows. I cuddled a lot. I hung out with my cat. I spent time in the sun. I just did nothing. But I did whatever I wanted. I made good food. I, meditated. I did breathing, that kind of stuff. Like I just existed. I just experienced. I looked at the clouds. I was like experiencing gratitude for being on planet Earth and how beautiful she is and how I wish we would treat her better and all of that stuff, right? Chet says, is questioning the meaning of a streamer about their points defending seems like discussing the topic in a curious way rather than just blind affirmation gets criticism in this space. I don't know who you're talking to. Are you talking to me or somebody else? You questioning me is one thing, but there are people in this chat, like, there were people in my chat saying like I was the stupidest person in the world. I'm just trying to like pick at Hasan. Like I'm not very serious. Like there were people who were literally insulting me, right? Chet said I expected back and forth to be welcome in this space about philosophical. It is. See, you're doing it now. You're getting defensive in my chat when you're a guest. If you're not a part of this community, you don't get to come into my house and decide our customs are weird. You don't get to come into my house and smell my food and decide it smells too weird. You have to come into this house, take off your shoes, and sit on the couch and listen until you understand the vibe, right? See, you're doing it now. We're all doing it. You keep treating my space like it's something you should understand. You are a guest in this house. You are a guest in this house. If you would like to become a permanent part of this community, you can learn the lingo, learn the customs, learn the dance, learn the music, learn the food. Okay, you're welcome, but don't act all victim right now in my chat when you're the guest. Okay, very white colonizer of you, for real. It's a little bit of a joke. A little bit of a joke, okay? Chat says takes about a month. It does take a while to learn the lingo in this community, It does take a bit. Okay, now, let's talk about the misogyny of it all, because I think it's important, and I think it's really hard to understand. But I come from a place of learned experience. Reminder that I showed you at the beginning of stream, all the people that I've talked to, all the bubbles I've been in, all the communities I've talked to. I've talked to so many more people. Those are just the few I had pictures of as proof that I've definitely talked to some of your faves. And I know for a fact, YouTubers are not who you think they are, because neither are your parents or your brothers and sisters or your priests or your teachers. YouTubers are just like anyone else in society. They are not introspecting. They are not holding themselves accountable. They do not live by principle. They live by vibes. Okay? And that's what it is. And I've been there myself. I'm constantly trying to be less bad every day. I am not exempt from this criticism. I'm saying if we do not first hold ourselves accountable, we cannot change. Okay, we cannot change. Okay, this is infamously, I was consistently watching Hasan at one point and trying to vibe with it. And I was like, okay, right? And then I saw this clip because Ryan Beard, there's a whole thing with Ryan Beard coming up. Ryan Beard suggested it to me, like, Brittany, you should watch this. And I was like, uh-oh. I saw this clip from Hasan and I was like, Jesus Christ. Now, let me deconstruct this with you. Here's the clip.
College is like doing one good thing, which is that, like, if you have these millionaire, billionaire, WASP fail sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only do date rape to other billionaire, millionaire failed daughters is, like, in some respects, from a utilitarian perspective, of course, a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like,
taking these guys and putting them in a pen with one another is ultimately getting them away from the broader society.
Okay, look, I have made commentary in my streamer past as well that definitely is trying to be sarcastic or funny or whatever else. This is obviously a horrible fucking take, and he should never have made it, even as a joke. Utilitarians are fun to make fun of, but it's a horrible, horrible, horrible thing to say. Okay, it is just, I want to get away from this. I want to get away from my past commentary, but I want you to understand who I am not. I am not these people who are weaponizing this against Hasan. Right? This is fun fact. Hasan is talking about my alma mater. He fantasizes that girls who attended were millionaire, billionaire, failed daughters. Even if that were true, it's not. The fact that he turns their hypothetical rape into a utilitarian calculus is despicable. Okay, gross human. And this person here, obviously not to be trusted, right? Western civilization, engineer, patriot, adventurer, blah, blah, blah. Hasan Piker, rape is good if it occurs at wealthy colleges. Obviously, I understand that it's hyperbolic. I also think it's wrong. In the same way that I have said shit myself that I'm like, man, I have to be better the way I show up on stream. And chat's right to take Ryan Beard with a grain of salt because they're friends with Ethan Klein. Ryan Beard and I are connected. We're friends in a co-worker way. Like on occasion we DM. But Ryan and I also have collabed. We had did a great collaboration together. But Ryan and I also see eye to eye. We are very different. I'm sorry, we don't see eye to eye. I've told Ryan, I don't like the way you fight with Destiny on stream. Or I don't like the way you go on people on Twitter. I don't like the way you fight with people on the internet. It's really low. It's lowbrow. It's not responsible, right? Which we'll get into here. Because at the end of the day, that gets rewarded. When I say, hey, you need to get off X and stop fighting with Destiny and all these people, it just makes them more popular, right? I get discounted. Hasan, okay, it depends on who you ask for the timeline. But you have to understand, I've been in this space as a girl, a perceived girl for a long time. Ryan's a they, them, but Ryan gets perceived as man, right? I get perceived as girl, even though I'm gender fluid. I get it. We get treated differently. And Hasan is one of those people who treats us differently, which is why to me, I go misogyny. When I made my video about Destiny, okay, I had come out of the Destiny bubble. I was there a year. Okay, this is the original email I sent to Destiny. I said, hey, Steven/Destiny. My name is Brittany Simon, a YouTuber who lives on the introspection philosophy side of YouTube. I had an audience member introduce me to your content. I also learned about you through ABBA collabing with you. I followed more towards that side of YouTube and would love to have you on to discuss you and your ideas about life. I don't want to debate, just casual chat. I have plenty of questions. It says, let me know if that sounds interesting to you. Then Steven replied to me, okay, we got on Discord together. Boom. This was January 23 of 2022, right? This was our falling out. He made this video about me. This was in May 22 of 2023. We were done because I called him out on stream and I said, don't take relationship advice from Destiny. He's a serial cheater. Okay, he was a serial cheater. And then Destiny blew up on me. Everybody blew up on me. They're like, I can't believe you would say that. That's his bread and butter. That's how he makes a living. I can't believe you would do this. And I'm like, why are you guys mad at me? This is my opinion. These are my principles. You're doing the same thing to me with Hasan. I am stating my values. And you're like, how could you say this about Hasan? Listen to me, that I have my own thoughts and my own goddamn opinions and my own goddamn values. These are my morals. And you are asking me, yeah, but what about this guy streamer that I really like? What about it? What about it? So I made my video about Destiny before we found out about the felony he was facing and the fact that he was a predator and the fact that he was recording women without their consent and men and sharing those videos. Before any of that, I burned the bridge with Destiny after he burned it with me, meaning there was no chance of recovery. I burned it with Not So Erudite, ABBA, all those people from that space. I DM'd everybody and I said, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not interested in any of you. Then I put out my video about Destiny warning people. And this was Hasan's reaction to finding out about my video because his chat said, hey, you should watch Brittany's video. But reminder, he didn't watch my video, but he did watch Ryan Beard's. Fun fact, Ryan Beard watched my video and took information from that video to use in their video. And that's the one Hasan watched on stream. And now you're going to say, oh, Brittany's just mad because Hasan didn't watch her video. No, I'm not mad. I'm self-aware enough to know, oh, I see what this is. I see what this is. Watch.
The replies demonstrating exactly her point about his community. Brittany Simon, let's finally talk about Destiny, misogynist, cheater, rape apologist. I don't know who this is. Rent due, how are you this out of a loser? Bert, this is not a level 5 post, this is level 1 vibes. I don't know who this person is. I don't know what's going on here. But the vibes are fucking bad. The vibes on Destiny and his community is just always so fucking.
Okay, so what that does, do you guys know what that
The
does?
replies demonstrating exactly her point about his community.
Okay, so two things happen now. Two things happened at that moment. One, you think, oh my God, like people are going to take me seriously. I was in this community. I was harassed and victimized by this community. Like, this is like, it was such a bad space. I hope more people see this video. Then he sees me and goes, I don't know who the fuck this is. And then he goes, everything is so bad in this space, Destiny and his community, thus solidifying in people's brains that I am in Destiny's community when I was not. I am a passerby, right? And yet, Ryan Beard, who fights with Destiny on Twitter, literally makes fights with all these people. Their video gets featured on Hassan because Ryan's a boy. Well, not a boy, but a perceived boy, right? Ryan's a they, them, but a perceived boy. Because I'm a perceived girl, I get treated differently. And this thumbnail, I thought was like serious and very like, I got so slut shamed from this photo that I also think Hassan saw it and thought I was a slut. Because that's the feedback I got back in my DMs. Even Hassan didn't defend you. It's because you're a slut. Your tits are out. Like, even the left hates you. And I was like, damn, are they right? Like, so then I changed the thumbnail because in my head, I was just wearing clothes that I thought looked cute and like professional and made me feel like I didn't look like a slob. But I think Hassan saw that clip. I think is he wearing a Make America Great hat again? I don't know what he's wearing. And I think he saw that in the same way. And I think they did this whole thing like, oh, yeah. Okay, Chad says, do you think it's benevolent patriarchy? He thought he was protecting you by not addressing it. Well, here's the problem. I was already getting harassed for 2 years. I was already being harassed. I was already being told and claimed that I was like this horrible, evil person, right? So women in this space are never treated as intellectual equals. They are treated, especially if they're a smaller channel like I am, even though I make a full-time living doing this, and I really do make a full-time living doing this, literally. It's never my career, it's these men's career that makes the career. And that's why I'm frustrated because like, okay, so once again, it's like, okay, let me show you this clip because there was a community member in Destiny's sphere who Destiny had a falling out with eventually, but he was like stalking me, obsessed with me. And I left X for this reason. And they chimped me out of context. They took two things I said 15 minutes apart and switched them together so they could show Destiny this clip. Look at how Destiny talks about me in this clip. Keep in mind, we're no longer in contact because he burned the bridge with me, which apparently I will say, allegedly, I'm the very first person Destiny has ever burned a bridge with. Reminder that Hassan had to burn the bridge with Destiny because Destiny wouldn't stop saying the N-word. Allegedly. Okay.
Not that much. Also, I'm more offended, less by the relationship level, more that insinuating my kid should have been aborted. I think is.
Well, obviously that wasn't my insinuation, and I'm surprised he didn't check the context, right? But I can see why he's running with that narrative. Again, I'm not trying to read Steven's mind. I'm just trying to say it's very strange from my perspective to watch this because that's obviously not what I'm saying. So then I'm thinking, okay, are we having a deep miscommunication? And if we are, can we ever get past it? Maybe not. I genuinely feel like you can't always explain things to people. Like, no matter how hard I try, I'm not going to convince my like conservative family that trans people are valid. You have to understand this. And sometimes I assume with other people it's similar. So again, I don't want to take him out of context. I don't want to misunderstand what he's saying. But as a person who's viewing this, I'm like, why would he think I said that? I would never advocate for that.
It's a little bit more extreme there, but.
Oh, yeah, she did say that.
Yeah.
Why would you say that, Brittany? That's like really
Yeah, I didn't say it.
fucked up.
It is fucked up. It is fucked up. I'm glad I didn't say it. It is very fucked up. I'm glad I didn't say it.
I don't aborted?
I wonder if there's a clip from the past where like you guys have talked about the Alabro situation with her and she's aware of that.
That guy is irrelevant.
This would be a malicious guess. Although I would assign it to Brittany now, actually, because she's so unhinged and because apparently I think I've fallen too far on the side of giving people charitability.
Sure.
What are the two things?
Keep that in mind, that some people think they give people charitability. He burned the bridge with me over seeing a stream out of context, not even in full context. He didn't watch the whole stream, guys. He didn't go back to the beginning of the stream and watch it. And then he, instead of reaching out to me to clarify, just assumed I had malicious intent for him. I don't know what he's thinking, but that's what it appears like from my side. So no judgment. I just think it's a huge miscommunication. But I don't see that in his actions. I see a lot of talking and no following up with any kind of consistency. Are you checking in? Did you ask? Did you get clarification? Did you check this like who sent you this clip? Why didn't anyone check the context? It's obviously so spliced.
I've said in the past repeatedly, publicly, over and over again, that would make me burn a bridge with you.
With
Remember?
me?
You generally.
Oh.
You generally, right? See how easy it is to miscommunicate?
It would be you too, but
okay.
Have you heard me say these on stream before?
I have no
I've
idea.
always
what
said there
you're
are
talking
always like two things, and it's if you're legitimately like trashing my partner, and if you're trashing my kid.
I didn't do any of those things. I trashed him, right? The dilemma Steven has, and I think this is part of the miscommunication. When I criticize his bad parenting, I'm not talking about his kid. When I criticize his his cheating habits or the way he, in my mind, abuses partners, I'm not talking about his partners. I'm talking about him. So when he says this, like Brittany did this, Brittany went after my kid. No, I didn't. And I never went after your partner. I went after you. I mean, I have my opinions of his partner because she was a public figure herself, but I'm going after him. So then it feels in my mind as I'm observing this that he's creating a narrative. And I don't know if it's malicious or not, but it is a narrative of no one can ever criticize him for what he does, because if they talk badly about him, they're not talking about him. They're talking about his kid or his wife. I've never talked crap about a kid. Why? So obviously we know in the future that that this is present Brittany talking now, that he was a horrible person, even worse than I thought at the time. So this Brittany is still thinking maybe he's like mentally ill. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what's going on, right? Now, in this video I put out, I did come to Melina's defense, his ex-wife, and she did DM me and thank me because she was so terrified about doing it herself. So I did it without contacting her. I just did it on my own because I was ready to be done with this space. I just wanted to wipe my hands clean of anything I had in this space because it was so bad for me mental health wise. It was so evil. And I was like, I don't know what's going on here. These people are so bad faith, right? So I wiped my hands clean by making my video. My video was for me. And the moment I posted it, I felt like a relief. I got messages and DMs from women saying, thank you so much. I got messages like people saying like, oh my God, Brittany. Like, and that was such a win for women. And that's why I thought it was funny that my video wasn't featured on Hassan, but Ryan Beard was. Because when it's a win for women, men don't care. Men don't care. Even the ones who are progressive. And that's my point.
Brittany Simon, let's finally talk about Destiny, misogynist, cheater, rape apologist. I don't know who this is. Rent due, how are you this out of a loser? Bert, this is not a level 5 post, this is level 1 vibes. I don't know who this person is. I don't know what's going on here. But the vibes are fucking bad. The vibes on Destiny and his community.
So there's just like, this is why I go, okay, yeah. Like, do you not see how that plays into this narrative now that, oh, see, the women in this space are just, and there's no good thing as a real victim and nobody, which by the way, is exactly what happened between my falling out with other people associated with Destiny. I said, it doesn't matter how you feel about the women in this conversation. The man is doing horrible things to them. And they said, well, it doesn't matter if he's doing horrible things to horrible women. That's what men were saying to me, right? So that's why I say, like, I don't understand what Hassan believes. I don't understand what he actually believes about patriarchy or about, oh, no, now, okay, let me extend this to, let me show you this. So then, okay, so we talked about, let me see. Okay, so here's what happens. Let me show you. So this isn't unique to Hassan, though. He's not alone. Remember when I covered Kyle Kalinske a few months back and everyone was telling me to stop criticizing the left? Because he said, that's a lot of beans, you nasty ass bitch. And then he said that to this Nancy Mace, the woman. Listen to me when I say this, right? Chet says, you okay, Brittany? What do you mean, bro? I'm vibing. Why would you ask me that question? See, is that misogyny? Are you saying, are you okay, Brittany? Because I'm a woman on stream expressing myself? Or do you see something wrong with my face? Am I like Is there something wrong? Why would you ask me that question? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you guys know, asking a woman that question when she's being passionate insinuates mental health. Now you're making it seem like I'm crazy. That's what I'm saying. Do I look like I'm sick? Like, that's what people aren't thinking about that I try to think about before I open my mouth. Okay? And this happens to minorities all the time. Minority people will be talking. I remember I was with Marissa J. Johnson at that, remember I showed you the picture at the beginning of stream? I was at that conference and she's a black woman and this guy was talking to her and she said, oh, I don't know who Nirvana is. Can you tell me more? And he's like, why are you so angry? Why are you so aggressive? And I was like, oh, that's what you sound like. Why are you assuming she's angry or aggressive because she doesn't know who Nirvana is? Why do you assume it's not okay? Chad says I was asking because she looked like she was getting upset watching the clip. That's all. I'm literally not upset. That's what I'm saying. When you say that, you're insinuating you're not helping. Instead of seeing me for who I am, a woman who knows exactly what she's talking about, a woman who's 100% fucking right, you're like, oh, you look upset watching that clip. Are you okay? You're not helping. But I hear you and I get you and I understand that you probably, because the road is paved with good intentions, probably think you're helping. But now all you're doing is putting in my chat that I look unhinged. That's what people will use against me that I'm saying is frustrating. Yeah, and it's derailing the conversation. Right? Chad says, I hate being asked that, especially by a man, because usually when they do, they're like, hey, are you okay? Are you on your period? Hey, are you okay? Are you being like a little emotional? Because as women, we know when men or anyone often ask us like, hey, are you okay? It's like, uh-oh. Discourse said, I think they're conflating you being stern and direct with you being dysregulated. Yeah, I'm used to it. Exactly, chat. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, a few months ago, people were mad at me for going after Kyle Kulinski. Now, it's interesting because people in my chat against Hassan initially had said, Brittany, you can't spend time going after the left. The right will just use it to like gain power. But Hassan rightfully said, fuck Gavin Newsom. Rightfully, I agreed with him on that. Fuck Gavin Newsom, right? But he was making the point that he's not going to be the reason Gavin Newsom misses or doesn't get elected, right? I'm not going to be the reason the right wins because I'm criticizing the left. You can't put this much responsibility on people. Now, what is Hassan responsible for? He is not responsible for Gavin Newsom's win or loss. That's Gavin Newsom. That's the Democrats. Hassan, in my initial assessment, is responsible for how serious he answers questions that are serious. Because though he's in California and can vote third party and it might not matter, what if one of his fans is in Kentucky or a swing state or somewhere, that really requires you to vote blue? Now, I understand that his whole point is we shouldn't be pandering to the Democrats, which I also agreed with. See, that's the problem. The responsibility he has is separate from our personal feelings about Democrats. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying for somebody who's so famous, for somebody who's so big, for somebody that the news says is like the largest voice on the left, he doesn't seem to take into consideration anything he's saying. He wants the freedom to be an edgy streamer that gets to say whatever he wants without recognizing the responsibility he has with a microphone. And that seems to be common with a lot of men in power, right? They get more famous and they get more rich and they get less responsibility somehow, which is how we got Trump. How is Trump the least responsible president? Because you don't need to be responsible to be famous. You know what I'm saying? Now, this plays into the misogyny generally on the left that I want to talk about that I think is really important, okay? So I just want to give examples. So this is, let me see, who should I start with? Let's start with promoting men into positions of power who are deeply problematic and misogynistic and deeply dangerous. We'll start with somebody who's more of a liberal that we recently covered on stream. There was a ICE agent situation where a white person allegedly called a ICE agent a house N-word. Okay, very bad, right? Then this guy, Tory made this video.
Black people are very mad that I said that it's okay to call a black ICE agent the N-word. their argument, that word.
So he said, white people, this might be the one chance you get to say it because it's true. And not all black people get their, like he was basically saying we should take black people's black card away because they were ICE agents. Obviously, I have no place to speak on the black community in this regard, but the consensus in my progressive bubbles is no. White people are not allowed to say the N-word. This is also Tory.
Absolutely piled on. Hassan Piker is getting absolutely piled on by Democratic harm reduction voters who are saying, hey, we don't want your purity test. This whole thing is a lot more complicated than that. The Dem Party has to grapple with the fact that different voters have different motivations, and this is the Democratic Party.
Right? So like, it's like, these are the voices that are considered like academic or journalistic or prominent, right? Actually, great point, chat says that chatter thought you were crying when you were actually laughing. Oh, when I went like this, it was because I did a slam dunk on Destiny. When I said like, I'm not talking trash on your kid, I'm talking trash on you, I was laughing. You thought I was crying, I was laughing. That's what, girl, I was literally laughing. I literally was like, oh, that's so funny. I was laughing at how funny I was, okay? That's what that was, okay? So you look at him and you're like, no, white people should not be saying the N-word, especially not house N-word, hard ER at a black person. Not acceptable. But then this guy is out here like defending Hassan. Okay, I'm just showing you white men, black men, all men in positions of power who are imperfect and honestly sometimes very dangerous, right? FD Signifier, who we love, friend of the show. FD Signifier was doing this stream about Scholes and Charlemagne, and you know, Charlemagne is a very interesting person. And I used to watch a lot of Flagrant, a lot of Charlemagne. And I was like, oh, yeah, they're liberal boys, but I kind of like them because they're not Republicans. And then years ago, eventually I learned, well, first of all, not only is Flagrant pro-MAGA, but Charlemagne the God, Charlemagne raped his wife and then bragged about it as a story. If you guys have never heard this clip, it's very triggering. I'm gonna have you listen to it. And then remember that this is the same man that The Daily Show gives a spot to this day. So these men in these liberal spaces are not to be trusted.
Charlemagne told the world on air that the first time he had sex with his wife, he raped her. And then his wife had to go on the Breakfast Club and clear it up for him so that he wouldn't lose his job. Y'all don't remember that? Let me take you on a walk down memory lane. So several years ago, Charlemagne was discussing grape culture. And while discussing that, him and his wife talked about it. And he admits that he raped her the first time they had sexual intercourse. Anywho, there's no need for you to hear it from me. Let's hear it from him.
I know that sounds crazy, and I know y'all listening like, yo, that's messed up. Yeah. I keep telling y'all, I've told y'all this over and over. It's a lot of things that guys did, especially when we were young, that were that we just didn't consider rape. I'm married to my wife. Me and my wife dated for a whole year. She would not give me no pussy. Me and my wife hung out one Saturday night, and she got sloppy drunk and passed out at my mama's house, and I got that Yes, I mean, she was fucking me back and all that, but she was really drunk. So I asked her yesterday, I was like, yo, did I rape you the first time we ever had sex? And she looked and she goes, I mean, in hindsight, yeah. No.
Now, mind you, this was all around the same time that it was revealed.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying as much as you want to prop these men up and give them time in your daily show streams, you want to sit there and talk good about, Hassan and everybody else. I'm not saying Hassan is as bad. I'm saying I just wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Chomsky is in the files. Okay, Chomsky is in the files. Okay, Novara Media covered it as well. Chomsky is in the files. That's what I'm saying. Stop holding these liberal, leftist, progressive, allegedly men to a standard and stop having them speak at your fucking Oxford Union as if they don't have a felony they're facing. 2 months ago, Destiny was literally here doing the Oxford debate at Oxford Union. That's what I'm saying. And so you literally look at me and go, oh, Brittany's just finding reasons to be mad at Hassan. Brittany's just finding I am saying, hey, when I cut myself out of the debate bro bubble, I didn't see the issues in the debate bro bubble really shift significantly from any of the largest leftist podcasters or platforms. Okay? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a problem. And I'm not saying that Hasan is evil inherently. I'm saying he's still a man who benefits from patriarchy and white supremacy, is literally wealthy. He's in a position of power, and he isn't, in my mind, doing exactly as much as you think he's doing, but it feels that way because, you know, he's showing up and doing speeches in a suit. Okay? That's all I'm saying. I'm saying I am trying to do my best when observing a bubble and saying, look at ABC and NBC and all of these news stations. Look at GQ highlighting this man with a microphone, dubbing him the most prominent voice on the left. Then surely I can hold some criticism, right?
Hasan Piker, also known by the online name Hassan Abi, appears with Mayor Brandon Johnson in Los Angeles. The podcaster has become one of the biggest voices of the far left. Piker has debated the late Charlie Kirk several times, but his live stream with Johnson was anything but a debate.
Okay, so then they call him the biggest leftist voice. What does that even mean? What in Hasan Piker's personal belief, what is his personal belief? Is he a leftist? Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, okay, what's the value you hold? Is he just a guy saying he's a socialist? Is he just a guy saying he's progressive? Because all the reasons people give me for the reason he is these things, like he is a progressive, are all the reasons like capitalists say that capitalism is good. He's rich and he gives money to charity. Okay. He's mentioning minority voices. Okay, I guess Heritage Foundation can claim that too because we just watched them uplift a black family. You see that the other day on stream, as if that wasn't absolutely like cope. Okay, what is the thing that makes Hasan uniquely progressive? Not just that he says he's a socialist in America and that scares people. What is the thing that shows up in his real life that he says, "Oh, I'd like to do that, but I actually can't because I can't do that." What is the thing he misses out on? What is the thing that I'm not saying is a sacrifice, but he's happy to do because it's within his values? Okay? That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying it's easy for us to misunderstand what's being done here, but I need you to know, because I don't think men know, in women's spaces and femme spaces and queer spaces, we really are moving towards a future of love and wisdom. Okay? We are moving in a direction that's outside of the system and within the power of the people, and yes, has a lot to do with accountability of the individual. Not pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but by understanding that all of us are a community, so all of us have to heal. Okay? We have to do that. This is a philosophy channel. Yes, politically, he has his place and he does a lot of good, but surely he isn't the end goal. Like, surely he is good enough, but not the goal. Does that kind of make sense? Does that make it better for you? Right? Because he's the single highest donator to the Amazon Labor Union, Brittany. Okay, that's great. What does that mean? What does that mean? Like, what is that? How does that? Like, some people said, I don't care that he shops at Amazon. I mean, listen, I don't care in the sense that, hold on, I don't think I have it right now, but I saw a black woman on TikTok say consumption under capitalism was for people who were too disenfranchised and poor to shop otherwise. It's not for rich white people with money to still shop at Amazon, right? So like, I understand it's not going to be perfect. Look, I still work for Google at the end of the day because I'm a YouTuber. He works for Twitch. He works for Amazon. At the end of the day, we are all contributing, right? I'm saying that's why we have to try to be less bad. I'm saying, what is the thing that he's doing that incorporates his deeply held beliefs? Okay? That's what I'm saying. And yeah, evil people do donate all the time. That's the problem. Epstein was saying that during Epstein's interview. He was saying, why are you mad about my money when I donated to help polio? Why are you mad about my money when I help promote vaccines? And I'm saying you donating your money is a capitalistic talking point, right? I'm saying, okay, can we talk about this? What does this mean? And does Hasan think, hey, if I do these things, see how they're external to himself? That's what I'm saying. Do you understand? I understand what you're saying, and I'm saying these are good things. But I'm saying, do you understand they're external to himself? That's what I do. What is something he does internally that is about his life? Right? That's what I'm saying. Chad says throwing money doesn't equal embodied values. That exactly, Chad. Thank you. I'm saying, what is the thing? Yeah, Bill Gates donates millions of dollars to charities and he's on the Epstein files. I'm saying, what is the thing? Because that's why I say progressives wouldn't do X, Y, Z, because if you're progressive, then you would show up like this. Or maybe if you're a vegan, you would show up like this. Or maybe if you're this, you would show up like this. And then you would acknowledge, man, I don't know how to do it better. I say this on stream all the time. Right? Like, shoot, I'm not doing well enough. How do I do better? And not by trying to be perfect. Humanity is an evolved animal over millions of years. It can't be perfect. So do you understand? Like, I'm wondering if you understand what I'm saying is humanity can't be perfect. And like, if he was someone's husband, would his partner know her husband's beliefs? Or would she sit there and be like, yeah, I don't know what my partner believes. I know what he does. I know how he shows up for protests, but I don't know what he actually believes. Because Destiny used to do this all the time, where I'm like, but what do you believe? He's like, what does it matter? I was like, well, it matters. He goes, but I'm standing up against Republicans. I'm fighting for women. What does it matter if you're fighting for women if behind closed doors you're assaulting or recording them without consent or violating them? I'm saying, what do you believe? Like, what is your real belief? What is your real embodied way you show up in the world? It's the same reason why Destiny will do this thing where he goes, here, look at this. I think that's important. He said we were still co-parenting. So in my mind, they're no longer co-parenting. So and again, this is about how I think. This is my.
And no, but we were like still co-parenting. Obviously, because she had her whole family there and his mom had her job and everything there. Like
I think that's important. He said we were. By the way, behind closed doors, Destiny obviously told me different things than he told stream, which is why I knew he was lying to his stream. But his reasoning was very like, hey, you need to go to therapy, dude. Basically, his reasoning for not being around his kid and not being in his kid's life was very like trauma related. And I was like, you need to go to therapy for that. But he told stream it was because, oh, I wanted more jobs and I wanted to collab. So which one was it? Was it that you were experiencing trauma related things, or was it because you wanted to stream more? Was it because you wanted to date girls in Miami? What was it? Destiny's also the kind of man who goes on podcasts and say he's a single dad. You're not a single dad. Your kid doesn't even live with you. You know? Yes, Chad said embodied beliefs versus public action. Exactly. Because listen, you do not want another person who's a Christian preacher who's secretly sinning behind closed doors. You do not want to support these men and uplift them with microphones and find out in their private life they're not adhering to the values they espouse. Because that's what they're getting away with. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying they're getting away with this ability to preach at the pulpit and to sin in pub. This is what Andrew Tate and Sneeko and all these other boys are doing, all saying they're Muslim, all saying they're all these things. But then in their real life, they're not adhering to any of the discipline that goes along with these beliefs. They're not real Muslims. Okay. Just like Hassan loves to say he's a Muslim when it benefits him, but he's not in any way being a Muslim. Okay, which I know people in my chat were like, I'm sick of Hassan saying he's a Muslim. He's not a Muslim as a practicing Muslim. And I value your value. Like, I see you, right? Like, I see the frustration minorities have when somebody says, I am one of you, but doesn't do anything. Now, again, I'm not saying he's not doing a lot of things. He can be doing a lot of really good things. And this isn't even about Hassan at the end of the day. This is about your own life. You yourself can be doing a lot of really good things, but why are you doing them? Do you know why you're doing them? Now, some people might say, oh, I don't care if you're doing it for a good reason, just do the right thing. And I'm saying, I don't really want you to do the right thing unless you know why you're doing it. Okay? Right? And I'm saying, to me, there's a very different, because that's how you get the preachers at the pulpit who you find out behind closed doors are like picking up prostitutes and raping children and all these other evil things. Okay, so let me go back. I think I missed some good chat here. So let me just go back really fast. Let's see. He also literally doesn't invest in the stock market. The point is financially unwise, but it does seem important to him, aligned with his values. Okay, I think that's really great because he's rich enough he doesn't have to. I think it's really devastating that a lot of us don't have that privilege. So we have to probably invest in the stock market because we won't have retirement if we don't, right? And I think that's like, but there are progressive people who are telling you how to invest in the stock market that also avoids companies that are doing really evil things. But also we live in a world where like we're always contributing to the evil. Coffee, chocolate industries, so many industries are required. Child labor is so required of them, right? I'm a coffee drinker. I get it. That's why I say I'm not expecting him to be perfect. I'm not expecting him to be perfect. I'm saying you are the largest person with a microphone Do you understand what that means? And guys, he probably doesn't. He's 30. Actually, I said this to my Discord. My Discord was like a lot of people are in their 30s. Mamdani is in his 30s, 33. I think he's younger than Hasan. You know what I mean? So, okay, never mind. But I understand. I want to give him a chance, but also it's hard to wait for him to figure it out. Well, he's the largest person with a microphone. Which goes back to that therapy session with the 70-year-old man. It's like, well, you're figuring it out. Black women are suffering. That was the argumentation. Well, you're figuring it out. Your community is suffering, right? Yeah, he's 33. There you go. And Hasan is, 34 and I'm 36. And I'm, again, now some people were like, well, Brittany, then why don't you do what Hasan is doing? I can't, right? Like, I can, right? I can't be popular unless I'm popular. I'm not willing to play the games. I'm not putting out the TikTok clips. I'm not trying to go viral. I'm not trying to pick fights with every big YouTuber to maintain my relevance or to trend. I'm not willing to do the things to get famous. And I also don't think it would be good for my mental health or other people's. Now, if the audience made me famous, if you guys ended up, how Hasan has all these fan channels that create all these things and all these TikToks? Yeah, in some ways he didn't choose to be famous, even though he actively says he's trying to get bigger, right? It's a both participation thing. I am constantly signaling to my audience. I'm always telling you guys, I do not want to be famous, which means subconsciously to you, you're thinking, okay, I probably shouldn't share Britney's videos or promote her, which also sucks because I want to keep my job, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not about me trying to replace Hasan. I don't want his job, but he does have a job. And if his job is going to be the largest leftist creator, then my job is to comment on him the way I would any public figure, any celebrity, or any person. When I go after anybody else, okay, when I talk about any other creator, I don't get the same amount of pushback, except when I go after Ethan, Destiny, or Hasan. Those are the three people that when I talk about, someone is in my chat calling me obsessed, what is it, clout chasing. When I talk about Tori or anybody else, when I talk about Charlemagne the God, Charlemagne's fans aren't in my chat. It's Ethan, Hasan, and Destiny. Not even Asmon people come in my chat when I talk about Asmon. There's something about those three. I think they're the same kind of people at the end of the day, which makes sense because Hasan was also besties with Destiny and also besties with Ethan, at least from a work perspective. Don't you see what I'm trying to say? They are the Holy Trinity. They are the Holy Trinity. That's my future prediction, is that they are way too alike for me not to raise an eyebrow at Hasan Piker. Not to say he doesn't do good, not to say there aren't good things about him, but to say that I support Hasan a little less enthusiastically than I ever supported Ethan and Destiny, because I was way too charitable to Ethan and Destiny. I was so charitable to them. So charitable. So charitable. And I'm just done being charitable with white men who have microphones and are millionaires. Is that okay? Is everybody okay with that? Can we take a breather and just accept that, yeah, in 2026, I'm going to be a little less charitable. Okay? Chaz says the pattern has been recognized for sure. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying, Chaz says there is a meaningful distinction between people who are capping for Ethan Destiny for pushing white supremacy. I don't know what that means. There are meaningful distinctions for people capping for Ethan and Destiny for pushing white supremacy. I don't know what that means. Do you want to expand on that? Discord said it just makes me more intentional when I share your stuff. Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing about, again, it's hard because obviously I'm a creative and obviously I want to maintain my income and obviously I want to get stable enough as a viewership to have a job. But I also know the difference between being famous and being a community member. You're just as important to the community if you're a teacher or a parent or working at a grocery store or you don't have a job. You're just as valuable to the community the way you show up as you. So you showing up as you is just as valuable to the community as anything else. And it's not that Hasan is more valuable than you. He's not. Hasan Piker is not more valuable to you. He is not more valuable to the community than a teacher or me or anybody else. But he is more responsible because of his platform. He is more responsible because of his platform, but he is not more important or more helpful to the community. Okay? I showed this at the beginning of stream, but I think it kind of works right here. Like, you are somebody. This is Jesse Jackson. He's passed away. Regardless of how you feel about him, this is a really good clip from Sesame Street.
I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be young, but I am somebody.
Isn't that beautiful? I am somebody and I matter, right? Chat says, okay, hold on. Chat, you said it perfectly right here, which is my problem. This is my red flag. Hold on, where is it? Hold on. I just saw it and I lost it. Oh my God, I just lost it. Where did it go? You said I think Hasan is a good, oh, this one. Hasan gets on my nerves too, but overall, I think he's a positive to bring normies to the left. Exactly the red flag I'm trying to make you pay attention to. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's the red flag. That's the red flag. Okay? Lashes says I'm an Ethel Cain superfan. Ethel Cain? Isn't that white woman from TikTok? I don't even know what that is. Thanks. Did I say something about Ethel Cain? You know? Let's see. Let me scroll. I feel like I missed something. There's a meaningful distinction. Okay, I read that. Hasan gets on my nerves. I read that. Also, hold on. You said Hasan gets on my nerves too? Just for the record, he's not getting on my nerves. I want to clarify if you're saying that about me. He does not get on my nerves. Do you realize, do you understand that he does not annoy me? He's not getting on my nerves. I just look at him and I go, okay, it's his viewers. Then I'm like, you're getting on my nerves. Because you are what's wrong with the world. Because you think he's what's right with the world. Which is obviously what's wrong with the world. It's not Hasan. Hasan is doing exactly what a white man in power would do. What a man that looks the way he does would do. What a man in his position would do. He's literally so cookie cutter. Someone in 12th grade could have written him into their high school essay. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. That's why he's a red flag. He is exactly the person he thinks he is. And exactly the person he doesn't realize he is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. I said it, I was talking to my sibling about this because he reminds us of our brother. We have a brother I call him Hasan. He goes, stop it, I'm not Hasan. I'm like, you are Hasan. And we joke a lot of that he's Hasan. I'm like, you and people like you guys are lying because you're self-conscious and you really want people to like you. That's the whole, like, I hugged a gay guy, but did I come off cool? Hasan is deeply insecure. And that deep insecurity is a red flag. He won't go to therapy. He won't challenge himself. He won't face himself. So he gets all the validation he needs from stream and from his interviews. His insecurity is absolutely a danger because it will hurt him and others. But I'm used to this. I'm used to insecure men with microphones being defensive. That is the way of the world. And I'm not saying he's evil because of that, but I am saying he will cause harm. I'm saying he will hurt himself and others. But that's normal. That's exactly what these men are. They're all insecure, right? And that's what it is. Chaz said, can we have a stream discussing Ethel versus Lana? I just have no idea what you're talking about, babe. Thank you so much for being a member. I just have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not in that bubble right now. I have no idea what you mean. I can look into it later and see if it's interesting. I just don't know what you mean. Yeah, Chad says men making their insecurities everyone else's problem. That's what it is. An insecure man with power will make it everybody else's problem. Yeah, Chet says maybe the insecurity is why he's self-obsessed to the self-obsession ruins his content for me most of the time. Well, that's what it is. He reminds me, I can't even tell you how much he reminds me of my brother. It's so funny. And that's why I'm saying I'm treating Hasan the way I would treat my brother and be like, hey, You want all of the credit with none of the work. Go to therapy. They want to be good listeners. My brother always says, oh, I'm such a good listener. I pay attention to women. I listen to gay people. I'm so woke, da 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 da. But like, I'm the cool, I get it. But then he won't go to therapy. He won't face himself. He won't do the work. He is still stagnant, but he wants all of the social credit. And I'm saying, no, you can't get all the social credit because you know how to, quote, be cool around gay people. You have to do the work on yourself. Yourself has to be the work. Your greatest project is yourself. Let's see. Chet says, this might, to be honest, might be parasocial, but you seem like a kind of thinker that tries to pursue good, whether it's profitable or not. Hassan seems to find himself in a position which happens to align with good. Yeah, I obviously I'm good first, profit second. I just want to make enough money to pay my bills and have a retirement when I'm like 90. But I obviously, guys, I'm telling you right now, I just got a DM from a YouTuber with like 1 million followers on YouTube, 12 million followers on Instagram. And they were like, you want to come on my podcast? And I'm like, no, because I looked at his guests and who he's had on recently, Fresh and Fit, Destiny, all these other people. I'm like, no, I don't want to go on your fucking podcast, right? Hassan doesn't do that. Hassan goes, oh yeah, Theo Vaughn, I'll go on your podcast. Oh yeah, this guy, I'll go on your podcast. Hassan wants to be popular. He goes on every podcast again. He's done streams with Nick Fuentes. He did streams with Destiny. He's done streams with all these people. That's what I'm saying. Hassan can do it because why? Now, again, I make caveats. I make exceptions for people collabing with bad people as a way to get them out or help them. But Hassan doesn't get to give himself the social credit of doing this when he isn't doing this. Hassan's job is not, this is what he tells himself it is, in order to justify his collaborations into fame. I'm just getting right-wing men to be more liberal. He's not. Because that's what Destiny says too. Destiny does the same thing. Oh, I'm collabing with these people to make them more liberal. You're making money and getting famous. You're making money and getting famous. You're making money and getting famous. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. You can keep saying that, but that's not actually what's happening. That's what it looks, that's what people will convince themselves is happening, but it's not. Because again, Hassan has also infamously said, debates don't change minds. So we agree, you're not changing minds. People might be at the place in their life in which they hear Hassan say something and change their mind, but Hassan didn't do that, they did that. Right? So in one side of his mouth, he's like, debates never change minds. And the other side of his mouth last month, he's like, I'll debate Asmin if he would. So now we're going to debate Asmin when he becomes friends with Nick Fuentes. Maybe the girl bubble just holds people to better standards. I think that's what it is. I think the girl bubble I'm in, the progressive bubble I'm in, the standard is high. The standard is absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's the point, because what you're doing is you're validating them. Charlie Kirk was validated by the fact that Hassan Piker gave him the time of day. Asmin loves that Hassan Piker is obsessed with debating him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying absolutely not. Okay? Chat says debates do change minds. Debates do not change minds. You are ready to change your mind. There is a difference. I watch debates all the time. Alex O'Connor's even talked about this. Talk about somebody who better change his mind about Dawkins now that the files have come out. Dawkins was always a homophobe, a transphobe, an evil person. But him coming out in the files is exactly why Alex O'Connor better denounce him. But Alex even said, like, it's theater. You're doing theater. Debates are theater. And theater's fun. I watch debates, but it's not where, because I remember being on panels, debate panels, and I would be deeply confused. I'm like, I'm sorry, are we serious? Are we doing something here? What's going on? And they're like, you're so silly, Brittany. You're taking this. Like, I have been in so many debates in my life. And I'm like, hey, are you seriously going to, like, are we talking about real life right now? Like, people's lives are at stake. This isn't a funny video I'm making. Like, this is important. No, none of these people are serious. All of these people will seriously impact your life. All of these people will seriously make your life worse or better. But they're not actually serious about the debate. And that's what I realized was happening. So a lot of the girls in this space, the only way they survive is by minimizing that feeling of, hey, something's really wrong here, in order to not be seen as emotional to be in this space. Okay? And I'm not saying Hasan can't be rich and successful. Bernie Sanders is a millionaire too. I'm not saying these people can't be rich. I'm saying, what does it mean to be rich? What does it mean to shop extravagantly? What does it mean to overconsume? What does it mean to drive a car? What does it mean to, what is it, all of it? I'm not saying what you should do. I'm saying, did you ask yourself the question? Do you know that, do you understand the difference? Okay? That says, please, can we acknowledge that there's so many Harvard academics in the Epstein files? I can't believe Harvard hasn't made a statement. They're pumping out predators. This is what I'm saying. I'm saying we cannot be surprised that, like, the world will always be the way it is because humans are the way they are. Okay? It doesn't matter what their name is. It doesn't matter how they show up in the world. The world is always the same. Question is, what are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about your life that changes the way the world appears? And what does that look like? Because the world is a reflection of us as a whole. We have so much say about how the world goes and how the world is. And until you actually understand that as a collective, not as an individual, first an individual and then a collective, right? Because collectives are individuals put together. Then we rise up. We are not even on the same page, which is why people say, oh, the left attacks itself too much. The left makes compromises constantly with evil, as does every human being on the planet. But I need you to know that first. I need you to know, in the same way Hasan and you guys look at Gavin Newsom, I look at Hasan. I'm like, he makes too many compromises with evil for me. Too many little things that could so easily change. You know what I mean? But they can't be easy because he hasn't gone to therapy, so it's actually really hard. That's what I'm saying. I know it's hard. I'm not here to make Hasan feel stupid. I'm here to say, man, even when you're in a position of power, even when you have all of the choice, it's so hard to make the right one, isn't it? It's so hard to make the right choice. And that's what you should pay attention to. You know? I'm sure he's trying his best. I think everybody probably is. Does that make sense now? Is that like a little bit like, you know? And once again, please continue to watch Hasan. Please continue to watch him. We haven't learned anything truly like egregious about him that would make me think, oh my God, you better not be watching him. Like, keep watching him. Just accept him for who he is instead of making him out to be somebody he isn't. Because it's not going to help him or me or you or any of us to pretend that people in our lives, the things we watch, aren't what they are. Okay? Okay. Any questions? Any thoughts? That's all I had for you today. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay? Like I said, I don't watch Hasan like his streams every day, but I do watch Hasan. Like, obviously, he comes up on my feed. He's trending. You know, I'll catch a video maybe twice a week, you know, right? Chet said, why would therapy resolve anything that you're calling a problem? We're attributing a lot to therapy still. Therapy is your mental health. It's your mental health. We know living under capitalism, it's killing us. It's physically giving us heart attacks sooner. Our bodies are deteriorating. We're more bigoted and prejudiced the more stressed we are. The reason the Trump administration is stressing us out so badly is because we know the human beings become more bigoted when they're stressed. So we will be more negative about sharing wealth or sharing our resources, right? So that's the problem. Like, mental health will liberate not only people from MAGA, but it will liberate us away from the reasons we do what we do. Because remember, trauma it informs so much of our life. You know, the way we treat people, the way we think about women or people of color, or queer people. A lot of this is trauma based. You know, the way we view, you know, the way we think about fat phobia, the way we think about anything, It's like we've been so traumatized by the world, and yet we're not like our mental health is so important. Our communities are being beaten down by each other because whether you like it or not only are the police beating you down, but then you go home and your boyfriend does. Okay? Not only are Epstein billionaires raping your kids, but your grandfather did. I don't know about you, but my family was on part of the Epstein files, and my grandma was still married off at 10 years old. Okay? I'm saying whether you like it or not, your family isn't as great as you think it is. And it absolutely isn't that different from any of these other fucking problems that we're facing in the universe. Okay? Just as you're saying he spends frivolously on stream, how would therapy fix that? You're saying that he debates right-wingers and that's a problem. How would therapy fix that? I'm not saying therapy. Okay. I believe in being a whole. I'm going to take you so good faith right now, girlfriend. You better sit fucking down and listen to me. You have to be a whole human being. You have to know who you are in the story. And if you want to change it, you have to work on your mental health. That's therapy. Your spiritual health, that's philosophy, right? Why do you do what you do? Your physical health, that's your body separate from the brain. Therapy, mental health, physical health, staying alive, meditating, eating well, all of the good things, okay? Remember, in the Black community, heart attacks are up, girl. We have to go plant-based. Let's go, girls. Let's keep Black people alive longer. Let's eat plant-based meals. One of the best diets from a health perspective, a planet perspective, and an animal perspective. Let's go, girls. #1 community rising in plant-based diets. Let's go, okay? And then, what was the other one? Wait, physical, spiritual, financial. And then you have to have a good relationship with your financial health. For me, for Brittany, I could not get my finances or my physical health under control until I went to therapy and I got my mental health under control, right? We know Hassan has talked about his eating disorder. We know he talked about it on H3. Remember? Hassan was like, I can't keep cookies in the house. And Ethan was like, why not, dude? Just eat the cookies. And Hassan's like, no, I had problems with weight as a kid. Like, I can't have cookies in the house. I'll eat them all. And Ethan's like, who cares, dude? Eat the cookies. And I'm like, remember how Ethan did this also to Philip DeFranco and his eating disorder? Like, it's bad. Go to therapy. You can't have an eating disorder and say, I don't need therapy. You can't say, oh, I have issues with cookies in the house and say, I don't need therapy. You don't get to. You don't get to have a problem with food and then go, I don't need therapy. What do you mean? A problem with food is exactly the reason you should go to therapy. That's a great therapy moment. You know what I'm saying? If you have a problem with cutting or self-harm, guys, hear me out, therapy, right? And I understand I also put my therapy on a credit card. I also was working 2 jobs. I also wasn't making a lot of money. I'm not saying do it now. I'm saying do it when you can, but do it now. Do it when you can, but do it now. Do it when you can, no rush, but do it now. Okay? Because that therapy is a tool, but you can also you also have to implement what you learn. I think that's what Brittany is saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. If you want MAGA people to do better, right? You know how Hassan's whole thing is trying to get conservatives more liberal? How is he going to do that? What does he think is happening in their brains that makes them more liberal? Right? What do you think he's doing? He's getting them to progress forward. What do you think I'm doing? My job is not to get conservatives to become more liberal. It's to get progressives to become more progressive. It's to get, it's not my job. My job is philosophy, but my job is to liberate you spiritually and personally from the system, to make you realize you exist. You are so important and you are not defined by the system of oppression. You live in it. We have to exist within it, but you are not defined by it. You are so much more than what your oppressor thinks of you. You are so much more than what a boy with a microphone thinks about you. You are so much more than a comment section thinks about you. You know? Back to this, beauty.
I may be on welfare. But I am. Somebody.
I am somebody. You are somebody. You matter. You matter and you deserve a doctor who will care about you. You deserve housing you can afford. You deserve food you can eat that's healthy. You deserve to exist a happy, joyful person. You deserve that. Therapy is a privilege I hope all of us get to experience one day. A good therapy good therapy is a privilege I hope we get to experience one day as a whole. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing that human beings created, this construct called therapy. It can be weaponized for evil, but when it is done right, it saves lives. Okay? When it is done right, it really changes the heart of a person. And so many of my family members, just speaking from personal experience, their bigotry is trauma related. They keep relying on Jesus Christ, relying on patriarchy, relying on tradition, being anti-gay, being anti-trans, because they are traumatized. And if they could heal their childhood trauma, there is a very large chance that they would naturally realize all of this hate and bigotry I had in my heart came from self-hatred I felt about myself, that I was unworthy and unlovable, and I wasn't worth existing. I wasn't worth staying alive, but I did. I put a big smile on my face and I pretended I was a happy-lucky-go guy. Only inside I kept hoping that the car would hit me, that I would lose, control over my steering, that a deer would take me out. I've heard this from people in my life. And then they started going in therapy. And they feel like 30 years of burden has been lifted from their shoulders after 10 sessions. They feel like for once in their life, they can, tell their 12-year-old self, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry you were raised in a bubble that didn't hear you and didn't protect you. All of these conspiracy theorists who claim they're correct about all of their theories about Epstein are so fucking narcissistic and fucked up because you're not right. The victims were right. Those women, those victims, those children had been coming out for years. And all of you are so worried about just being right from a conspiracy perspective. That's what I'm saying. The children in my family who have come forward, ignored and called dick teases because the adults in their life don't want to believe that the adults they raised or the children they raised became people who would target kids. Go watch my latest podcast. Warning women, please do not move in with your boyfriends, especially if you're 19 and he's 30, because that's happening in my life right now. These men who you think are just sweethearts, and I know they are also men who are not going to therapy, not facing themselves, and along the way, okay, you will befriend them, be empathetic to them, give them all of your emotional labor, give them all of your kindness, and they will yell at you and call you a bitch the moment you ask them to actually face themselves. So while you're busy in my chat saying, oh my God, Brittany's such a bitch, or Brittany's so this, okay, Brittany's so jealous, she just wants to be famous, da-da-da-da. We're just pointing out the same thing women have been saying forever. That we keep putting men in positions of power, whether it's in our family or at work or online, who are not doing the bare minimum of looking themselves in the mirror and saying, maybe I'm the fucking problem. Okay? Maybe I'm the fucking problem. And I'm saying you get to be the problem, and when you're ready, you can be the solution. Okay? Hassan is not different. He does not get to be a man in a position of so much privilege and deny any self-improvement, except going to the gym and working out so he can post thirst traps, which, good for him. But what do your thirst traps have to do with real mental health, with real self-actualization, with real introspection? Nothing. But damn, he looks good though. He looks good, right? Unlike me, I didn't work out. I have no pump today. Okay. Oh, I look pretty good though. But the point is that he looks good though, right? So he must be good. Pretty privilege plays a role in people thinking that pretty people are also good people. Are you checking your biases? Because he's attractive, is he automatically good? Do you know that's a real phenomenon in our brain? That we think people that are pretty must be morally good. So we should check ourselves. We really should. Chet says, why does he go to the gym philosophically? Maybe he should. There is there is a philosophical perspective of gym life, right? Discord said, the real question is, even if therapy only helps with a few small problems, why wouldn't you want to lighten your load? Hello? Discord also says halo effect. Amen. Yeah, Chad says the belief of pretty equals good is inherently fascist. Yes, it is, girls. Yes, it fucking is. And by the way, can I say something? And I know this. I'm not saying this. Just another point to my point. People think I'm ugly. They don't like the way I look and they don't like my voice and they think I'm ugly. So another thing that's been weaponized against me is like, oh, she's so ugly. That's why she's mad and bitter. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm not even ugly. And second of all, okay, I get it. So I know as a woman who is perceived in a particular way, who men are always like, oh, I wish she didn't have that face though. Like anything but her face. Like, I get it. These male streamers who are like, oh my God, like, oh, like Britney's body, but Britney's face. Okay, I get it. But that's why they go for your looks, okay? That's why we have to pay attention to how people depict us, right? Wasn't this the whole thing with Barack Obama when he was in the White House? How they depicted him could have been often was very racist. And it's how you are depicted. What do people notice about you? What features do they notice about you? Here, I'll give you an example. Hold on, I'll give you an example. I save a lot of things as sort of evidence in case I need it later. Like, I don't record conversations or anything fucking fucked up like that. These YouTubers are crazy. You know, they're recording each other's convos. They're fucking weirdos. I mean, more like memes on the internet that I think are like people make about me that I'm like, I might need this later. Like today, see how I need it today? Hold on, let me show you. Somebody made this meme about me and I was like, see, this is racist. There's no way this isn't racist. Like, how is this not racist? Show it to you. Pull it up. Okay, so somebody made this meme about me when I made my video about Destiny. It says Destiny has sex with Lauren Southern while in an open relationship with Melina. Okay, that is trying to get him away from his responsibility of cheating and gaslighting Melina, which he did. And then it says, this fucking sucks, actually sucks. And then it's like this picture of me. Like, that felt racist to me or something. I don't know what, you know what I mean? And like, this is the kind of stuff that I'm like, okay, like, this is the stuff that I think is like, look how they're trying to downplay it too. Oh, Destiny just had sex with Lauren Southern in an open relationship. No, he gaslit openly. He cheated. He lied to Melina. He told Lauren Southern, you saw the DMs. You saw the DMs. Okay. You saw the DMs. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when I look at the internet and I see how people react to me, that's kind of the point. That's like, yeah, I get it. That's why when they sit there and go, oh, you're just emotional, you're making it up in your head. Girl, I have the receipts, girl. I am a well-researched machine, girl. Okay? So once again, you can say time and time again in my chat, Hasan is just a streamer. He doesn't want to be famous. You sound like Charlie Kirk fans. Charlie Kirk was just a podcaster, Brittany. Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, is in your kids' schools. Don't tell me he was just a streamer, girl. Okay? This came out a day ago. Reminder.
Hasan Piker, also known by the online name Hassan Abi, appears with Mayor Brandon Johnson in Los Angeles. The podcaster has become one of the biggest voices of the far left.
Biggest voices of the far left. What is far left about Hasan? From a progressive perspective, right? She's obviously talking far left in terms of a normie perspective, but what about Hasan from a progressive perspective is far left? We need to be more progressive, okay? Okay? Chat said, didn't they have an open relationship? Open relationships don't mean you get to cheat, spread STIs, lie to your partner, or gaslight them. Okay? Open relationships do not mean you get to abuse your partners. That's what you guys sound like when you say that. Didn't they have an open relationship? Oh, okay. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Listen. That bubble was toxic. People had problems, but everybody does. They are not special or unique. Just like Therese said the other day about Epstein, nothing about Epstein or the men in those files are unique or interesting. It is happening in our families. It is happening in our workplaces. It is happening in our churches. Nothing about Hasan or Destiny or Asmon or any of these boys is anything more than a reflection of society as a whole, reflection of the world as a whole. And that's what I want you to pay attention to. Go watch Hasan. Go enjoy him. But if you do not see him through a critical lens because you are having a parasocial relationship with him, what are we doing here? How is the world going to be different if we turn a blind eye for our favorites? Including me. If you disagree with me, bring the data. We'll talk about it. How many times on chat have you brought to me, Brittany, I think you're wrong about this, and I have moved my language. You guys told me about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. You said, Brittany, you really missed the mark with that one. I said, fine, let's revisit it. And you were right. I changed my mind and I apologized. I was fucking wrong. I was wrong. I got swept up. I believed the data. I didn't hear everything. You were right. I was wrong. Now, I'd love to see that out of some of these men with microphones, because the rest of us are absolutely doing it. And we are not nearly as famous, nor as rich, nor as stable, but we do it every day anyways. We take the actual consequence of not pushing out the popular narrative, which is literally struggle life, but that's okay. It's a grateful struggle life, right? It's a grateful struggle life. But that's the point. I don't feel like it's a sacrifice because it really is aligned with my values. I feel great about my choices. I just feel really great about them because they're aligned with my values. What are your values? You know? And how do they show up in your life? Values are the foundation in which we build our morals and then our ethics. What are your personal morals? And how does that impact your ethical perspective on society and how it should be? Personal, societal. These are two different things. Personal responsibility, accountability, right? Conservatives call it personal responsibility. Progressives call it accountability. Same thing. Just because conservatives are bad at personal accountability doesn't mean it's real. Doesn't mean it's not real. I think sometimes progressives, in their good intentions and their mental health struggles, because you guys are mentally struggling, I get it, really think personal responsibility is bad, but it's actually really good. It's just conservatives are bad at it. And because conservatives are bad at it, you decided it was something bad. Personal responsibility, girl, go to therapy. Personal responsibility, you know, the system didn't make you hit your girlfriend. You hit your girlfriend. Go to therapy. Yeah, the system, men as a whole, patriarchy maybe enforced an entitlement in your brain that made you think you were entitled to hitting your girlfriend. But you hit your girlfriend, go to therapy. Call the cops. Go to prison. Do whatever you got to do. I don't believe in prison systems. Do what you got to do. Rehabilitation. Right? Chad says, personally, I had to stop watching Hassan. He's kind of has a narcissistic vibe to him. Listen, my brother has the same vibe. Narcissism at the root of it is insecurity. It's insecurity. It's actually insecurity. That's what they're doing. They're coping. I love my brother. He's really sweet. I tell him, I was like, you're coming off really narky, like you're big-headed, but like it's the insecurity. That's why I say you got to go to therapy, bro. Your insecurity is coming off because they all are. All these men are deeply insecure, and we're going to have to take the brunt of it. That's what it is. It comes off like, I can't do any wrong. I'm never going to admit I'm wrong. Like, you don't know me. I'm doing good things. What is it? They want the both. They want to be the guy who listens and the guy who doesn't go to therapy. And again, therapy is just a word we're using to say medical health treatment, mental health check-in, self-awareness about the things I'm struggling with. Like, if the people in your life, if Hassan is serious, that the people in his life have literally been telling him, you need therapy, and he's not going, what does that tell you? Like, what does that tell you? Okay? What does that tell you? Okay, we did it. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll clip this for YouTube so Hassan fans can watch it again. And maybe, again, I won't change their minds, but maybe if they see it at the right time in their life and they've been feeling it themselves, they'll have that realization. Because I know a lot of girlies in the Hassan bubble have been like looking for new content creators to watch. Especially if you're done listening to boys talk with microphones, straight boys. Because also, like, I'm a boy sometimes. But if you're done listening to straight white men tell you how you should, exist in the world, you know? You know what I mean? Come watch my stream, I guess. Okay. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And remember to rest when you can and meditate when you can and love yourself when you can and go to therapy when you can because you deserve it. As Dr. Kirkhondo would say, you deserve it. All right. Bye.